Africa, education will be free. Education, we will have quality education. So now, what happened to quality education? Because we are now raising our kids to go work in a factory, and there's not even a factory work anymore.
How have the cuts to the teaching posts affected the quality of the education in the Bishop Lavis schools, and what impact do you fear this will have on the students' futures?
We look, already if you see 60 in a classroom, there's no way a teacher can really give special attention to a student. Because we already seeing what happens is the child doesn't understand what's going on in the class because the teacher doesn't have there is just no time to give special attention. So what happens if you don't understand what's happening in class? You don't go to school anymore. And we are just going around in circles because we are feeding the gangsterism, the drug addicts. Because if I don't understand, there's nobody to listen to me. What am I going to do? I'm just not going to go anymore. And we already seen a huge number of school leavers in our community.
What message do you hope this protest will convey to the Western Cape Education Department and the changes that you as Black would like to see implement in the very short and the long term?
Yes, we would like to see an immediate into the teacher layoffs, obviously, and then the reallocation of the social expenditure. Let our children be able to go to a local school and have pure maths, physical science, robotics, coding. Why should we send our children to areas across the N1 in order for them to have a quality education? This is not what we fought for. This is not what we died for.
I thank you.
So, yes.
I thank you so much, and all the best of luck with your protest. That was Amanda Davids, Media Liaison Officer for the Bishop Lavis Action Community Black. And that's where we got to end it for today from the team this morning. Our lines were down, so we couldn't get you everything that you require. But from the team, Tracy Bumga, Tizwengina Manashe, Tapelo Sibanyoni, and Marumo Kakana. Our senior producer, Ronald Piri. Kagiso Botoko is our technical producer and executive producer, Wutsila Kota. I'm Elvis Preston. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Ciao for now. Arrivederci.
In our top stories, schools reopen for the new academic year and second suspect arrested in connection with Peanut Tavern killings. Good morning. Various Gauteng MECs will visit schools across the province this morning. This is part of the provincial government's 2025 back-to-school campaign as schools reopen for the new academic year. They will assess the school's readiness for the year and engage learners and teachers on challenges affecting the schooling environment. Gauteng Education MEC Matome Chilwane will visit Bram Fisher Primary School in Soweto, while MEC Mahile will be at Freedom Park Secondary School in Devland. Gauteng Health spokesperson Mutaletale Mudiba.
The purpose of this visit is to engage learners and teachers on challenges affecting the school environment. This range from various critical issues such as the problem of teenage pregnancy and substance abuse that we are seeing in our communities, the state of school infrastructure, all of this which have an impact on learner progress.
Meanwhile, Gauteng Traffic Police have called on public transport operators to ensure that their vehicles are roadworthy before taking learners to school. Traffic Police spokesperson Selo Maremane says all motorists should make safety their priority.
There is also an illegal and unsafe tendency by some drivers during this time of the year of overloading school children. The use of light delivery vehicles to undertake public transport is also prohibited by law. We will be conducting enforcement operations throughout the province to ensure that our learners are conveyed in a safe and legal manner.
Mpumalanga police have arrested a second suspect in connection with the killing of 8 people at a local tavern in Pinar outside Mbombela. The incident happened in the early hours of Saturday morning, where 6 people were shot and declared dead at the scene. 6 others were rushed to hospital, while 2 of the victims succumbed to their wounds in hospital. Meanwhile, the first suspect, Patrick Bongani Nkosi, was arrested on Sunday, briefly appeared at the Kabokwene Magistrates Court yesterday. Mpumalanga Provincial Police spokesperson Jabu Ndubane says the 43-year-old suspect was arrested in Pinar.
During his arrest, police confiscated 3 pistols with no ammunition. The suspect will appear in court soon. The acting provincial commissioner of the South African Police in Mpumalanga, Major General Dr. Zef Mkhwanazi, is delighted by this breakthrough and praised the investigation team for their commitment.
28 Ethiopian nationals believed to be victims of human trafficking are appearing in separate courts this week, charged with being in the country illegally. Each face 1 count of contravening the Immigration Act. They were found naked and held captive inside a house in Sandringham in Johannesburg last Thursday. 3 Ethiopian nationals were arrested on suspicion of trafficking in persons, kidnapping, extortion and contravening the Immigration Act. And finally, U.S. President Joe Biden has informed Congress that his administration will remove Cuba from a list of state sponsors of terrorism as part of a deal that would release political prisoners in Havana. The deal was facilitated by the Catholic Church. President Biden is also reversing several hardline restrictions put in place by his predecessor and current President-elect Donald Trump that placed limits on some financial transactions with some military and government-linked Cubans. Showan Bryce Peace reports.
Reports indicate that as part of the deal, many dozen political prisoners and others considered unjustly detained by the United States would be released by the end of President Biden's term. Washington would also ease certain economic pressures imposed by the Trump administration, a move seen as the first real break in policy from Trump-era sanctions imposed after a period of détente when Barack Obama was president. It's unclear if Trump would again reverse the new policy once he takes office next week, after he placed Cuba on the U.S. state sponsor of terrorism list in 2021 in the final hours of his first term, arguing that Havana had repeatedly provided support for acts of international terrorism by harboring U.S. fugitives and Colombian rebel leaders.
Recapping the top story, various Gauteng MECs will visit schools across the province this morning. This is part of the provincial government's 2025 back-to-school campaign as schools reopen for the new academic year. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. First and foremost, it is back to school, the new school term opening today. As you heard in the news, a lot of school children on roads where they haven't been for some time. So be vigilant, please, for school children, and particularly around the school precincts. Got a crash on Joburg's N12 coming into Galuli's interchange. Queuing pressure already. Multiple lanes blocked at that scene. The N12 coming through from the Edenvale exit, R24 from the airport, joining into the N12. Both of those routes are backing up quite badly. Crash just north of Howick involving a truck up by Lions River. Only one lane open at that scene. And from Cape Town, some reports of protesting just outside Cape Town. In fact, on the N2, blocking the road between Botrafia and Grabo. You may find yourself being diverted off and rerouted around Clarence Drive coastal route. We'll keep you up to date with that one. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. There's been plenty of action, cricket action, as the Joburg Super Kings, they spin their way to victory against the Durban Super Giants. And we go to the Dakar Rally, where Henk Latergan has just relinquished his lead. We'll have the details around 6:30.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It has just gone 6 minutes, almost 7 minutes after 6 o'clock. Good morning and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Morning Brief. My name is Oliver Dixon, standing in this morning for Thulasizwe Simelane. Coming up on the show, we're going to be talking to the Department of Education in KZN on their ongoing difficulties in delivering learners learning and teaching support materials. Some schools in KZN will return to school today without learning and teaching material having been delivered, and the province is concerned that they may not be able to deliver it all in good time. We're going to be talking to MEC Sipho Hlomuka, who's the MEC of Education there. And then we're going to be speaking to JP Smith, who's the MMC of Safety and Security in the city of Cape Town. They warn of potential impoundings if scholar transport operators have not ensured the roadworthiness of their scholar transport vehicles. This as they push for an increased safety on scholar transport operators. And we recall, of course, the impasse that they had with taxi operators in 2024. And then we're going to be speaking to the Minister of Basic Education, Minister Siviwe Kwagube, on the first day of school, but also briefly reflecting on the matric results announced just a few days ago. We're going to be speaking to the Minister just before the top of the hour. You can be a part of all of these conversations. Give us a call, 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. And of course, in the next hour, we're going to be talking about the disturbing rise in femicide in South Africa. More than 15 women having been killed every day in South Africa. 15 women every day. That's the staggering number that we're working with and contending with. And then a little bit later on, we're going to be talking to David van Wyk, who's lead researcher at Benchmark Foundations, and that is on the ongoing Makua action over its stance on illegal mining in Stilfontein. You recall that Minister Gwede Mantashe had paid a visit there. The Mining Affected Communities United in Action, they said, well, that was really just a publicity stunt. Nothing was gained out of it. Again, I want you to engage with these. Give me a call, 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. You can also send me your WhatsApp voice note on 0614 104 107, 0614 104 107. Tweet me. It is at Oliver_speaking. That's on Twitter or X if you prefer it, and Oliver Dixon on Facebook. 9.5 minutes after 6.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
For you saying whatever comes out of the result, the bachelors or what we would call distinctions is the one you'd look out for. But you saying if those numbers are down or they sort of plateau, that again perpetuates a serious problem, not just in our education system, but in terms of the output.
I'm mainly arguing that university qualification, which is a bachelor's pass is what they would call it, is what in fact we need to be benchmarking almost as a standard, rather than simply saying, no, the standard is just for you to get through. I accept that not every learner is going to be an academic, but I would also want for a learner who goes to a TVET college or whatever other skills-based training they deem to go to, that they are proficient in the subject above 50% that they can, because that means they'll be more competitive.
Musi Maimane, leader of Build One South Africa.
This is the National Pulse on SAFM. All podcasts can be downloaded on safm.co.za. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Let's look at perhaps the most common red flags that job seekers should be on the watch out for in order to avoid themselves falling victim to job scams.
First red flag I would advise people to look at is the upfront fees. In actual fact, anything that's related to you paying or there's a request for money. And we've seen so many people falling into scams of this, and this is one of the biggest scams that they use.
Lucas Mulefe, who is a cybersecurity consultant with ESET Southern Africa.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. All podcasts can be downloaded on safm.co.za. The SAFM Playwriting Competition is closing on the 3rd of February 2025. Explore the theatre of the mind and write your 60-minute radio drama play and email it before 5 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. Late submissions will not be accepted. For further information about the competition, visit safm.co.za or send an email to drama@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
VfB Stuttgart are strategizing on how to secure a dignified top half position, while RB Leipzig are aware of how crucial victory will be for them to rise higher. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch VfB Stuttgart versus RB Leipzig on Wednesday, 15 January at 9:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The Morning Brief, weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
13 minutes after 6 o'clock this morning, let's take a look at your weather. We start out with some impact-based warnings. A orange level 5 warning for severe thunderstorms with heavy downpours and damaging winds, leading to flooding of roads, settlements, closures of bridge and roads, damage to infrastructure, and major disruptions are expected over the Ehlanzeni district municipality of Mpumalanga. A yellow level 4 warning for severe thunderstorms with heavy downpours and damaging winds, leading to flooding of road settlements, closures, bridges and roads, damage to infrastructure, and major travel disruptions are expected over the Mopani district and the eastern parts of the Bembe district of Limpopo, and the extreme eastern parts of the extreme eastern highveld of Limpopo, of Mpumalanga, my apologies. And then a yellow level 2 warning for severe thunderstorms with heavy downpours and damaging winds, leading to localized flooding of roads, settlements, and localized damaging to infrastructure expected over the northwestern parts of KwaZulu-Natal. And then there's an extremely high fire danger condition expected over the central parts of the Northern Cape and places over the Western Free State. Otherwise, in your indicators, you can expect partly cloudy weather with scattered showers, with scattered thunder showers from the afternoon in Pretoria, a high of 28 there. Johannesburg will be exactly the same with a high of 27. Vereeniging will be the exact same weather conditions with a high of 29 over there, while Mbombela will also be partly cloudy with widespread showers and thunder showers from the afternoon, a high of 32 in Mbombela. Morning fog patches expected in Polokwane, otherwise partly cloudy weather with scattered showers and thunder showers, a high of 26 over there. Mahikeng mirroring that sort of weather conditions with a high of 29. Freiburg will be the exact same with a high of 33, while Bloemfontein will be partly cloudy and windy with a high of 32. Kimberley will just be partly cloudy with a high of 31, while Uppington will be fine with a high of 28 expected. Cape Town will be cloudy at first, otherwise partly cloudy, becoming fine from the afternoon. A high of 21 in Cape Town. You can expect a moderate southerly becoming fresh to strong in the afternoon, while George will be cloudy with scattered morning showers and rain, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon, a high of 19 over there. You can expect a light northwesterly becoming moderate to moderate southwesterly in the afternoon. Gqeberha will be reaching a high of 22. You can expect cloudy with scattered showers and rain there. The wind will be strong at first, otherwise moderate to fresh southwesterly, becoming southerly in the afternoon, while East London will be reaching a high of 22, cloudy with scattered showers and rain, fresh to strong southwesterly, becoming moderate southerly in the afternoon, but southeasterly in the evening. Durban will be reaching a high of 25, cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers. It's moderate to fresh southerly to southwesterly, but strong at times expected over there, while Richards Bay will be reaching a high of 28. You can expect cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers there. A light to moderate northerly to northeasterly, becoming fresh to strong southerly to southwesterly by mid-morning. And Pietermaritzburg will just be cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers. Morning fog patches as usual expected in Pietermaritzburg, a high of 24. And that's your weather.
The Daily News Diary on SAFM.
17 minutes after 6 o'clock, Ann Musa standing by with the Daily News Diary. And do you know the routine of first day of school? Have you gone through it? Do you get anxious by it?
Good morning, Oliver. Yes, I've been through it. Anxious, night before, and the morning of it.
I can imagine. But do you know what's the one thing people always do wrong? Is miscalculate traffic.
Very true, very true. But won't it also depend on where you are? You know, in terms of, traveling distance as well?
Yeah. What do you have for us?
Well, that is our focus. It is learners returning to the class for the start of the 2025 academic year. We have the Basic Education Minister, Saviwe Hwahube, who's in the Eastern Cape, and she will be in Alice to mark the opening of schools there. And also various MECs will be visiting schools in provinces, and this is to check on the readiness for the new academic year. We're also still keeping an eye on the situation in Stilfontein. This is monitoring the retrieval of the illegal mine workers, and indication at the moment that the operation will take between 10 and 16 days. In court, it is the judgment in the bail application of 2 suspects charged with the murder of AKA, and last week the Durban Magistrates Court reserved judgment in the bail application of 2 of the 5 men. This is they filed a fresh bail application based on what they claimed was new facts. And also the Border Management Authority calling on travelers and cargo operators to use alternative ports of entry, and it is following the temporary closure of the border post outside Lipalale in Limpopo yesterday. And also the Judicial Conduct Tribunal that's probing sexual harassment allegations against the Judge President of the Eastern Cape Division of the High Court, Judge President Selby Mbenenge. So just some of the stories that we are focusing on this morning.
Yeah, and just a question on that bail application hearing, because the 2 gentlemen in the previous attempt had either attempted to get the charges dropped or evade court appearances. What is the update on that process, or is that completely off the cards now and they're facing a bail application hearing?
What I know or understand is that they are just facing a bail application hearing. Not too much on it. Hopefully, today we will know. Because with these 2 appearing, it is basically they filing a fresh bail application based on what they claimed were new facts.
Yeah, I wonder what these new facts are. Of course, we'll find that out in court this morning. And Musa, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. It's 20 minutes after 6.
I feel great, I feel nice.
Kasha, what's the go with Koeling on the highest, the summer level? What's the qua? It's the Nandi sessions with Mr. Showdem. It's the fa of live music. It's the go on SABC Plus. Catch the JR Feel Good sessions at 6 Fridays only on SABC 1. Mzansi for sure.
Abafana West 10 and the Rockets are both looking for a decent spot in the top half. They are all confident they will walk away from the battlefield with jubilance. This is the Betway Premiership. Catch the great passion and drama of Mzansi's beautiful game. Golden Arrows FC takes on TS Galaxy FC on Saturday, 18 January, live on SABC 1 at 2:30 p.m. and SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
Ukraine launched significant missile attacks and drone attacks on Russian regions, damaging at least 2 factories and prompting the closures of schools in major southern Russian city. But more importantly, this happens at the same time Russia is accusing the United States of America of being involved in a covert attempt, so to speak, on orchestrating efforts to sabotage the Turk Stream pipeline, which is the last remaining route for Russian gas exports into Europe. But does that matter at all, given that all of Europe has sanctioned Russia? Joining us to make sense of this is Roland Henwood, political scientist and commentator at the University of Pretoria. Roland, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Russia claims to have struck down over 200 Ukrainian drones and 5 US-made ATACMS missiles. It's a significant number over the weekend, of course, but it shows that Ukraine still has gas in the tanks to reclaim lost ground.
Good morning. Yes, a significant number of drones and munitions being used. It's difficult to actually determine exactly the importance of this and what's happening. The war seems to be not stagnated, but it's the same process that's playing out. You have fairly big attacks being launched from both sides to try and better their situation, try and put more pressure on the other side. And everything seems to hinge on an expectation that something is going to happen once President Trump is inaugurated next week, which means that the timeline that you're looking at is quite short. I'm not sure if that is necessarily going to make such a big impact immediately, if it's immediately going to change anything. So what one can read into this is that both sides are trying to position themselves to be in as good a position as possible should negotiations or something start. But I think expecting something to change immediately is a bit unrealistic. It's unclear what may happen, what Mr. Trump has in mind. And we see both parties reacting to that, especially Russia at this stage, ramping up the rhetoric against what he sees as the US and NATO attacking Russia. Of course, all this putting pressure on the different role players.
Yeah.
Ukraine seems to be under huge pressure at this stage. Especially if one listens to Mr. Zelensky saying that they don't have the munitions to really take the fight to the Russians as they would like to do. They have manpower, but not enough ammunition, missiles, etc. And they can't keep up with manufacturing on their own. So that creates a very difficult situation for them.
Yeah. Perhaps let's consider the implication this has on Turk Stream's strategic importance, very specifically because Russia is accusing the US of trying to sabotage it. Does it even matter, given that all of the West has sanctioned Russia?
Well, it does matter in the sense that there are still European countries that buy gas, especially from Russia. And that has been allowed. Remember, until December, there was a gas pipeline running through Ukraine that was basically allowing gas from Russia into Europe. And that was only shut down when the agreement that made it possible came to an end. And that agreement was not renewed. So that puts pressure on Russia because it has to sell its gas and oil to finance the war. And indications are that Russia is under pressure economically. So yes, that's important. And this is another way of putting pressure on America, trying to influence the decision-making in the minds of people around President Trump. And we've seen Russia using this quite successfully by upping the ante every time there's a change in strategy, weapons that is being delivered, threatening to use tactical nuclear weapons, threatening that this will expand the war and make it a bigger war. And it's been fairly successful, not completely, but fairly successful to put pressure on NATO, to put pressure on Europe especially. One must look at this also in a different context, in that there's some indication that Russia has been involved in sabotaging and is involved at this stage in a campaign to not only put political pressure on Europe, but also to engage in what is called acts of aggression against European targets, and then blaming that on Europe. So this war has not come to an end. And as I say, the stakes are quite high. So there's a lot of things happening. One of the examples being given, and there's some tension between Russia and the Nordic countries, because it's seen that Russia has cut some of the undersea cables on purpose. So there's a lot still happening. But I think the context within which it happens is not just what's happening on the ground in Ukraine and in eastern Ukraine, but what is playing out at a global level in a way, and putting pressure on leadership in Europe, creating political tension in Europe, and trying to influence what may happen when Mr. Trump is inaugurated next week.
Yeah, and just lastly, and this is important, does Russia have the capacity at the moment and the wherewithal to retaliate to Ukraine, or is Russia spent?
No, Russia is not spent. It has the capacity. It seems to be gaining the upper hand militarily on the ground. And remember, Russia also has many foreign supporters. It gets weapons from other countries, like Iran, for instance, like North Korea, etc. So yes, it can retaliate, and it is continuously putting pressure, especially on the civilian population in Ukraine. It is making progress militarily, but very slowly at a very high cost in lives. But the main approach seems to be putting a lot of pressure on the Ukrainian population and civil infrastructure in Ukraine. And that definitely has an impact on what is happening. So Russia is not a spent force by any stretch of the imagination.
Roland Henwood, thank you so much for your time this morning. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for your insights and coming onto the show. Roland Henwood is a political scientist and commentator at the University of Pretoria. It's 28 minutes after 6.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. This is Oliver Dixon on SAFM.
28 minutes after 6. Are you in the car perhaps this morning, taking your little one to school? Perhaps they're starting high school for the first time today. How do you feel about that? Perhaps they're starting grade 1 for the first time today. How do you feel about that? Although the starting point of schooling now is grade R, of course, as the Bella Act has now brought into law. However, the operationalization of that is not immediate, and of course still has to be staggered, and the norms and standards around various parts of the Bella Act has to still be drafted and approved by the minister. Give us a call. I'd love to hear from you. 086 000 2032 086 000 2032. The school day started around 7:30 officially. It is only about 6:30 right now, which means there's still an hour before the school day starts. Perhaps you are already on your way. Perhaps you're the early bird. Perhaps you have to travel a little bit further than other people ordinarily would have taken your kid to school. I'd love to hear from you. Give us a call from your car, 086 000 2032. Send us a WhatsApp voice note on 0614 104 107. How do you feel about your first day of either primary school or high school? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Perhaps, and importantly, you want to share with us what some of the obstacles are that you're most concerned about in this new school year. 086 000 2032. Tweet me. It is at Oliver_speaking on Twitter, Oliver Dixon on Facebook. It is 6:30. Let's take your latest headlines.
Good morning. Thanks, Oliver. In the headlines, various Gauteng MECs will visit schools across the province this morning. This is part of the provincial government's 2025 back-to-school campaign as schools reopen for the new academic year. And the Durban Magistrates Court is expected to hand down judgment today in a renewed bail application by 2 of the 5 men accused of the murder of rapper Keenan aka Forbes. Forbes and his friend Tebelo Tibbs Mutswane were gunned down outside a restaurant in Durban. And rising wind speeds are again threatening to fuel multiple wildfires in the Los Angeles region after 2 days of firefighters making some headway. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy backlogs into Galulis on the N12 and R24. It's coming in from Ekurhuleni. A crash just before the interchange in that Boeing Road bridge is pushing the N12 back towards Craft Road and the R24 Airport Highway back through the Edenvale exit. Generally, it is busier this morning as we go back to school. Some routes that have been fairly quiet and open for a while, noticeably busier this morning. Just north of Howick, dealing with a truck crash up by Lyons River. Only one lane open to get past that one. Watch for a breakdown on your way to the airport, just around the Gateway exit, the N2 going north as a left lane closure. And just outside Cape Town, this is a big deal, protesting this morning, burning tyres across the N2 national route between Krabo and Botrafia. In fact, it's between Hohook Pass and Krabo. That section of the N2 currently blocked. You'll be diverted either through Thaliasdorp, or you might want to just reroute yourself off at Botrafia or Gordons Bay and take Clarence Drive around through Betty's and Claymont as your alternative routing. It will be the long way round, that blockage around Krabo. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai is here with your latest in sports this morning. Zai, SA20 is in its second season, right?
Third.
Is this the third season?
This is the third.
Graham Smith's thing, right?
Yeah.
I still haven't. No, I have to ask because I still haven't watched a single game from SA20.
Could it because it's very exclusive on a particular channel?
Oh, is that the case?
Yeah, that's the case.
Oh.
Well, they should give us the rights because we do have the eyeballs here and the ears.
Apparently, they like liquid SA20. Players are getting paid really well.
Oh, yeah. It's like the IPL,
yeah.
but South African version.
My goodness.
My goodness.
I mean, I will even be honest with you. I am not a big fan of the short format of the game. So I'm not excited.
You're the test guy.
I'm the test guy.
Okay.
Give me 5 days, give me a red ball, and we're having a good time.
I love it. But listen, our local stars are stepping it up here. And we've also got some international names that are adding all the sparkle to the SA20. In case you missed it last night, like Oliver, the Joburg Super Kings, they spun their way to a 28-run victory over the Durban Super Giants. That was the SA20 clash at Kingsmead, chasing 170 to win. The Super Giants crumbled to 141 all out in just 18 overs. Now, Joburg Super Kings spinners, led by Donovan Ferreira and Tabre Shamsi, ripped through the batting lineup, taking 2 wickets each. Despite Quinton de Kock's 55 of 45 balls, the home side couldn't recover from a middle order collapse. More action from the SA20 saw the Pretoria Capitals experiencing a brief struggle, finding themselves at 61 for 4, but they bounced back to secure a 6-wicket victory after dismissing the Sunrisers Eastern Cape for 113 in their SA20 match. Englishman Will Jack scored 27 of 23 balls before edging a delivery from fellow countryman Richard Gleeson on the boundary. Captain Riley Rousseau followed shortly after scoring 12 runs before hooking a ball from Otniel Bartman to square leg, leaving the home side in a precarious position. However, Liam Livingston and Marcus Ackerman, they steadied the innings, ultimately guiding the team to a total of 115 for 4, finishing the match with 4 overs to spare. Soccer news, and the former Cameroon captain and coach Rigobert Song has been appointed to take over the Central African Republic national team. The 48-year-old Song, who played as a central defender for his country at 4 World Cups and then coached the Indomitable Lions at the finals in Qatar in 2022, takes over from the Swiss coach Raoul Savoy, who was fired in October. Elsewhere, Manchester City's hopes of winning a 5th successive Premier League title suffered another blow as they threw away a 2-0 lead to draw at Brentford. Meanwhile, Graham Potter ignited his reign as West Ham manager after two first-half goals in a space of 131 seconds, propelled him to his first victory in a 3-2 win over Fulham. Other leagues, Theo Hernandez and Rafael Leo saved AC Milan from an embarrassing defeat at Como with goals which gave the team a 2-1 win in Serie A yesterday. While Borussia Dortmund, they struggled in the league. They had the 4-2 loss at Holstein Kiel. Dortmund were heavily favoured against their promoted opponents, but it was not to be. Rugby news, scrum half Cobus Reinach will boost the Stormers squad when the double World Cup winning Springbok joins the team ahead of the 2025-26 season. The experienced Reinach, who has 39 caps to his name, will make his return to South Africa at the end of the current season, having played in England and France for the last 7 years. And finally, motorsport, Saudi Arabia's local hero Yazid Al Raji is in the overall lead for the first time at this year's Dakar Rally after finishing third in stage 9 yesterday, taking over from Henk Lateghan, who suffered 2 punctures. Al Raji, the Toyota Overdrive Racing team, finished just over 3 minutes behind 5 times Dakar winner Qatar's Nasser Al Attiyah, who won the 357-kilometre stage between Riyadh and Harad, with South Africa's Lateghan down in 11th place. That's how we wrap up your sport on the morning brief. More top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
13 minutes after 6 o'clock this morning, Zycon will be back in the next hour with the business update. Of course, Ndauleng is standing by with the latest in the business update. We start out, Ndauleng, with the Asian with Meta, rather, its plans to slash 5% of its global workforce. Zuckerberg seems to be on some sort of a inexplicable rampage of sorts.
That's right, because the move obviously comes hot on the heels of, other big decisions by Zuckerberg, including moves to end the company's fact-checking and diversity programs. I don't know what he's on, but clearly he's on something. So the group CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, sending out a memo to staff confirming that he'd be cutting jobs, about 5% of the workforce. This will result in about 3,600 jobs being slashed. The cuts will be done worldwide. Now, the company, which employs about 72,000 people globally, did not say how the cuts would be distributed around the world. According to the memo, workers in the U.S. who are affected will know by the 10th of February. Those outside the U.S. will be informed later. Now, these are performance-based job cuts, a common practice in corporate America. At Meta, they would normally unfold over the course of the year, but the process is being accelerated this year. The last big cuts at Meta came in 2023 when the company cut about 10,000 positions in a cost-cutting drive after Zuckerberg declared that year the year of efficiency. It also cut about 11,000 roles in 2022.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'd love to know what he's thinking and where his heart and mind is heading towards. It clearly is in a different direction altogether. Boeing isn't flying very high right now.
Mm-hmm. 2024 was a really tough year for Boeing. Now, the aircraft maker really falling behind its peers as it dealt with regulatory hurdles and a near 2-month strike in the U.S., this being reflected in its delivery numbers. Now, Boeing delivered 348 commercial airliners throughout the year, a stark decline from the 528 delivered in 2023. Boeing's struggles in 2024 extend beyond just production delays. The company faced big reputational damage following the 737 MAX crashes, impacting customer confidence and order intake. The company says rebuilding trust with airlines and the flying public is an ongoing challenge that requires consistent demonstration of safety and quality in all aspects of its operations. Now, zooming in on the 73 MAX deliveries, the company delivered 265 737 aircrafts in 2024, including 36 in the fourth quarter. While this represents a slight increase from previous quarters, it falls short of the company's production targets. Looking at its competitor Airbus, the European firm, proving to be the fave in the industry, delivering 766 aircrafts last year. And in terms of market share, Airbus has a slight edge over Boeing with 59.4% market share compared to Boeing's 40.6% share.
And let's take a look at those market indicators. How did the markets perform overnight?
So global markets are in recovery mode following a sell-off that saw equities plunge into the red. In the U.S., markets ending mixed, but mostly in the green. Softer than expected producer prices boosting sentiment there, sort of calming investors' nerves as there's been concerns about the trajectory of inflation and what it could mean for the Fed's next policy move. And then back at home, sentiment improving, trade also mixed, but not as bad as it was at the top of the week. The all-share closing yesterday's trade 0.1% higher, with the industrial 25 making the most gains. They're up almost 0.7%. And then over in Asia, markets trading mostly in the green this morning. Investors seem to be holding off on making big bets, though, as they await US CPI numbers and China's fourth quarter GDP print out later this week.
Yeah, darling, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. Back with you in the next hour. It's 19 minutes to the top of the hour.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? With Specsavers buy one get one offer, you get great value for money. You know you can trust us with over 350 stores nationwide. Get a free pair of branded prescription sunglasses up to 3,200 Rand when you purchase a comprehensive eye test and spectacle frame with lenses on your first pair. Choose from top brands like Police, Hugo, Tommy Hilfiger, Carolina Herrera and more. There really is no reason to go anywhere else. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply. Defending champions Bayer Leverkusen want to stay close to the log leaders, while Borussia Mönchengladbach are navigating a path to the top four. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Catch Bayer Leverkusen versus Borussia Mönchengladbach on Saturday, 18 January at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
The City of Cape Town has urged that scholar transport operators operate with vehicles that are roadworthy and have the necessary proofs to such. We speak to JP Smith, the MMC of Safety and Security in the City of Cape Town. JP, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Is the city planning this morning to impound unroadworthy vehicles? Is there a focused campaign on such?
Absolutely. Good morning to you and your listeners. Indeed, last year, throughout the 2024 academic year, we issued 6,226 fines for transgressions, and we impounded 246 vehicles relating to scholar transport. So there is for us it is for us an important campaign to ensure that scholars are given a safe chance to get to school. You may remember some horrific accidents in various parts of the city throughout the last 2 years involving scholar transport with irresponsible drivers or unroadworthy vehicles causing the deaths of young people. And we are early on in the year trying to make sure that we get off on the right foot and to step up the level of oversight over the condition of the vehicles, the drivers, and making sure that they have operating permits.
Most of the scholar transport operators do come from the existing taxi industry, of course, being members of the existing taxi associations, which you've had tough impasses with and tough engagements with in the last year or two. Did you, prior to this notice issuance, have engagements with them in the lead up to this?
The industry is extremely well aware of the regulations. We have a minibus task team where the city, provincial government and the minibus taxi industry, including the so-called amapelas, the sedan taxis, meet regularly. But they're extremely aware of the regulations, and scholar transport is a thing on which we communicate all year round. Last year, we repeatedly engaged the industry and put out statements pleading with them to do the right thing. So we are constantly reminding them of what their legal duties are and their responsibility towards the passengers entrusted to them. But it is our job to make sure that they comply with those regulations, which sadly, in the case of scholar transport and other forms of public transport, is very often not the case.
The city of Cape Town is often accused of using campaigns and efforts like impoundings as a capital-raising initiative and not a traffic exercise in earnest. What's your response to that?
It's laughable. It's a ludicrous statement, and can only come from somebody who's utterly disingenuous about road safety. So that's somebody who's trying to deflect the reality of the fact. The fact is that minibus taxis generate around 500 complaints a day, and are disproportionately involved in very bad driving and very severe accidents. And have large numbers of passengers. So it is our duty as the state, all of us, not just local government, but provincial and national government, to collectively ensure the safety of all those persons and compliant road safety on our roads. There's not a single driver or passenger in a vehicle out there on the road at the moment listening to your broadcast that does not strongly disagree with the idea that somehow there's too much enforcement on taxis. Everybody will tell you that there is too little and very poor driving behavior. So the money we make from the impoundment is absolutely negligible in the scheme of the total city budget.
Yeah.
What we must do is make sure that people that we take effective action. Issuing fines against public transport operators is ineffective. City issues around 260,000 fines a month, and to motorists across the city. A sizable number of those will, of course, be to public transport operators, as they are more frequent offenders than others. And this has very little impact on changing their behavior. So we must do those things that does change behavior, because the goal here is to get the road safer, not just to tick box the fact that you've issued a fine. And therefore, our focus on public transport, because the law permits it, is to impound where the law permits, under those circumstances where it is appropriate, so that you get a behavior change. And with impoundment, you get behavior change. It is the only thing that actually impacts, because it impacts on the bottom line, namely the income made from the vehicle.
Yeah, Minister, MEC, thank you so MMC rather. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I really do appreciate it. That is JP Smith, the MMC of Safety and Security in the city of Cape Town. Speaking of traffic, Rob is standing by with your latest in traffic.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Generally, it's busy all over as we go back to school. Things are fully loaded. As you might remember them from late last year, before the holiday season hit, we got heavy traffic out of Shoshenguve on the Mopani Highway Block XX, coming in from Stormful towards Pretoria, Mamelodi through Easterus, the section of Stormful Road looking quite heavily backed up as well. Joburg side, trying to avoid the N12 and R24 routes into Galulis, either coming in from Boksburg, Benoni, or coming in from the airport. Both of those routes very heavily delayed into a crash blocking multiple lanes at Galulis interchange, just by that Boeing Road bridge. So off-ramp at Barber Road on the R24, off-ramp at Jet Park or Craft Road at least on the N12, and pick up those alternatives. Durban, a breakdown on the N2 North before Gateway, so that'll just cause a bit of a delay as you head up towards the airport area this morning. St John's Avenue Bridge, Pinetown, M7, going into central Pinetown's heavy. Protesting between Port St John and Mthatha. Quite a big crowd, burning tyres near Majola T, that sort of area. So just on the western side of Port St John, unlikely that you'll get along that R61 until that scene's been addressed. And just outside Cape Town, this is a big deal as well. The N2 is closed between Krabo and Bot Rafia. Again, a large crowd burning tyres right across that section of the N2. That national route is closed. You'll either be diverted, I guess, if you're in Krabo or Bot Rafia up through Villiers-Dorp, or you could elect to just divert along the coast, go via Claremont, Betty's Bay, along that R44 Clarence Drive. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The Morning Brief, weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Celebrate the festive season with SABC Plus. Register on the SABC Plus app or website and you could win 10 gigs of data per month over the period of 6 months, as well as stand a chance to take home one of 6 Samsung A05s smartphones. Entering is easy. Register on SABC Plus, complete the survey and simply SMS the keyword SABC Plus and your unique PIN code to 49979. It's that simple. Make this holiday season unforgettable with SABC Plus. Terms and conditions apply. SMS cost R1.50. Free SMSs do not apply.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
It is 10 minutes to the top of the hour. I'm still taking your calls, and I'd love to take your calls on your first day of school. Perhaps you are a parent taking your child to school today for the very first time, either primary school or high school. What are some of the challenges that you are experiencing? Give me a call, 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. You can also send us a WhatsApp voice note on 0614 104 107, 0614 104 107. We were meant to have that conversation with the MEC of Education in KwaZulu-Natal. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get a hold of the MEC this morning. That is Sipho Hlomuka. We're going to try and keep getting a hold of the MEC. That, of course, is the concern around schools in KZN not having received the necessary learning and teacher support material as schools reopen today. And of course, we're going to try and have that conversation happen for you. If you are in KZN, do share some of your experiences with us in your first day of school this morning. Give us a call, 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. We're going to be speaking to the Minister of Basic Education, Minister Siviwe Kwahube, in a very short while. Of course, this as schools open today, and of course, the Minister monitoring various parts of the country and hopefully getting a smooth first day of school to take place. But let's speak to Peter Major, who's the Director of Mining at Modern Corporate Solutions and is a mining analyst. That conversation, of course, being on the warning of high risk at the Stilfontein rescue mission. The court had ordered the state to actually now rescue mine workers. That's the High Court after the application by Zinzi Tom, the sister of Ayanda Tom, who is an artisanal miner who is currently underground in Shaft 10 of Stilfontein mine. Why is this a high-risk effort, Peter? Good morning.
Well, I'll tell you, Oliver, these were giant mines, and they were created by giant people and giant companies. And that's what made South Africa famous. They had the largest gold deposit on the planet. Probably 50% of the world's gold was known to be here. But you needed huge mines, huge engineering feats and machines to access that gold because it's deep. So most of these shafts, not only are they deep, between 1,500 and 2,000 meters, but they're large. They're 8, 9, 10 meters across. And when you saw the men and the machines it took to build these shafts, now they've closed these mines. And the government's taken responsibility. The government nationalized all these mines in 2004. They said, we're taking them all for the country. It's for the good of the country. Well, the mines left. They closed them. Any mine that was not making big profits got closed. Why put all that effort into somebody else's mine? Now they're abandoned and they're stripped. So these men are going down in these enormous tunnels that had hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars of infrastructure, put in to keep them alive. Air, water, electricity, light, mechanical devices, hoists. These men are going down there. It's a miracle they even get down there, but to even be working there, how are we going to get them out?
So
Those big hoists are gone.
What is the first task in terms of setting up the necessary safety mechanisms and infrastructures to retrieve the miners? Is it having to set up the necessary cage, scaffolding? I'm not sure how you build a mine shaft, but what's the starting point?
Well, yeah, the starting point is to do it properly would cost $1 billion in a couple of years. And nobody's got that kind of money or time. So the government's organized a portable little crane that lowers a little cage at the end of it. And they say it can go down over 1,000 meters, which is scary. So this little cage is going to be dangling on a cable, and it can hold 7 to 8 men. But can you imagine you're going down there in the dark, you don't know how far you have to go down, and then even if you get to a level, are you going to jump out of that cage when it's swinging in the big shaft? Or are you going to throw a rope and they're going to kind of pull the cage to the opening? This is high risk. So they're going to have to send down a couple very experienced people with a lot of lights, walkie-talkies, and they're going to have to size up the situation. They can't just say, we're going to go down and bring up 7, 8 guys at a time. They have to size it up. There's going to have ropes, safety harnesses.
Yeah.
It can be done, but someone's going to establish who's down there, how many are down there, and what kind of shape are they in.
Yeah, I mean, that what you're describing sounds like the standard procedure of everyday mining. But perhaps to consider this, Peter, the importance here is that last year, several months ago, the government had sent down a camera down the shaft to size it up. Surely that was sufficient data collected?
Look, it was probably enough data to tell them there's a real problem down there. But then there's always the usual finger pointing. You know, who's responsible for those men down there? Are they South Africans? Are they aliens?
Surely that doesn't matter, Peter. The point is to get the bodies up as the court order has compelled. But we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Peter Major, who is a mining expert. Minister Sivuye Gwagube standing by.
You are listening to the Morning Brief.
Minister Sivuye Gwagube, the Minister of Basic Education, joins us now. It's the first day back to school. Minister, do you know this feeling?
It was many years ago, Oliver. Good morning, and good morning to the listeners of SAFM. I don't quite remember, but yeah, I'm here in Fort Beaufort in the Eastern Cape here to receive the first cohort of Grade R and Grade 1 learners. Pretty excited to meet with them and really welcome them to the schooling system.
Yeah, this schooling here starts off under different circumstances, and it starts off with many schools perhaps not knowing what their positions are around Grade R, admissionability, as well as, of course, clauses 4 and 5 of the Bella Act. Of course, certain provinces having pronounced readiness and some not so much. What is the circular that you had circulated to schools?
Look, I mean, I think there's sufficient guidance here, Oliver, for schools to basically be able to do admissions as much as they can, and also to be able to navigate around Grade R and Grade R offering. So, for instance, in situations where a primary school does not currently offer Grade R, what the province does is that it redirects parents to private providers that have been certified by the department that offer Grade R. Remember, we're about 70% of the way there in terms of the system being able to offer Grade R in all primary schools in South Africa. So, of course, it's going to require a significant investment on our side to make sure that every single primary school has at least a class of Grade R, so that we can make sure that our learners get access to that. But in terms of the guidelines around 4 and 5, we are issuing those two. We've already had our interaction with the trade unions. We are issuing those to schools so that we can make sure no school is confused about what to do.
Yeah, and importantly here is school readiness on the first day. However, this is a provincial function, but ultimately the buck stops with the minister when it all goes wrong, as we saw in Limpopo many years ago when the province was unable to deliver learning and teaching support material. That seems to be the case in KZN today. Have you had a conversation with the MEC and the authorities there? We were supposed to interview the MEC just before you. We are unable to get hold of the MEC. Have you had a chat with them?
Look, I've been meeting with met with all 9 of the MECs last year and at the beginning of this year, essentially to track their readiness in terms of LTSM and other functions. And of course, I'm aware that KZN has issues and there are challenges there, but the department has sought to essentially support KwaZulu-Natal. So I am quite keen to hear from the MEC what the extent of the problem has been. Their big problem has been money and being the inability to pay service providers. But I was assured that they had made provision for those service providers to still deliver the LTSM, because I made it clear to the MECs. Education is immediately realizable. Therefore, we don't actually have a trial period. On this day, today, all schools must be ready to receive our learners. And so if that is not happening, then we do have a problem. And that is something that I will have to intervene on.
And just lastly, on that thing of KZN not being able to pay providers, one of the subsector of providers they haven't been paying, not that they haven't been able to, they just also have not been paying them, are companies that have been appointed for the school nutrition program in the province. Now, while the school nutrition program is administered provincially, it's a program that belongs to you. The money for it comes through the appropriations bill, not the division of revenue bill. So it's money that goes to you first before it goes to any province. What interventions have you made with regards to that? Because there are schools today where learners will not be able to receive a meal.
Look, I mean, that should not be the case, Oliver, because ultimately, as you said, this is a conditional grant. No school, no province should be utilizing the school nutrition grant for anything else except for school nutrition. And so we should be able, unless there are logistical issues with providers, but there should never be a situation where any province is using that money for anything else other than school nutrition. And so where there are incidents, and I want to say this as we are closing off, I want to say this, where there are incidents where things are not happening, or whether there hasn't been provision of textbooks or nutrition, I want South Africans to be able to report these matters, because I want to be able to say to the departments, to the provincial education departments, we need to follow up where these things are happening.
Yeah. Can I get a commitment from you that you'll come back for us to have a more extensive conversation on the minutiae of the matric results?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Minister Siviwe Gwagube, the Minister of Basic Education. I'm taking your reactions to that. Give me a call, 086 000 2032. What is your first day of school like today, particularly if you are taking your little ones to grade R, grade 1 and or grade 8 starting high school? It can be equally as nerve-wracking. It's 2 minutes after 7 o'clock. Rekos has your latest news bulletin. And Musa, my apologies, has your latest news bulletin.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, schools reopen for the new academic year and judgment expected in the AKA bail application. Good morning. Various Gauteng MECs will visit schools across the province this morning. This is part of the provincial government's 2025 back-to-school campaign as schools reopen for the new academic year. They will assess the school's readiness for the year and engage learners and teachers on challenges affecting the schooling environment. Gauteng Education MEC Matome Chilwane will visit Bram Fisherville Primary School in Soweto, while MEC Maile will be at the Freedom Park Secondary School in Devlin. Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero and the Gauteng Health MEC Nomantunko Moraleoko will visit 4 schools in Pumville in Soweto. Gauteng Health spokesperson Mutaletale Mudiba.
The purpose of this visit is to engage learners and teachers on challenges affecting the school environment. This range from various critical issues such as the problem of teenage pregnancy and substance abuse that we are seeing in our communities, the state of school infrastructure, all of this which have an impact on learner progress.
A dispute is looming between the Eastern Cape Education Department and providers of scholar transport. The Mtata Taxi Owners Association has issued a warning against the use of private scholar or staff transport in the area. In a letter, the association has instructed parents to visit their nearest taxi ranks where they will be assisted with transport for their children. The association is adamant it's the responsibility of its members and the department to supply scholar transport. These parents say the safety of their children must come first.
We are not okay with this because we knew our children were safe in vans. Vans do not drop children on the main road but on the gate. I stay far from the tar road, so my child won't be able to go there. So I decided to enroll her in a nearby public school.
The problem with taxis is that they do not pick up children on time because they have to work at the rank. There are children who are 7 years old that will have to wait for a long time. Parents will panic when their children are not back on time. We know that vans wait for children outside school premises.
Santaco's provincial convener Mzwandi Lenkiwana says they are looking into the matter. Meanwhile, the association spokesperson Washington Nombembe explains why they don't want vans to transport learners.
This is our work as the taxi industry. We are registered and we are an organization. It is true that we are taking children, but we are not taking them by force. Our aim is that government can provide them with a scholar transport. We are trying to assist parents here so that government can intervene because they are not working. You can't be paying 600 while you are earning 2,000. How are you going to do groceries and pay for a scholar transport? We want government to enforce that a vehicle that must operate is a vehicle with an operating license.
The Durban Magistrates Court is expected to hand down judgment today in a renewed bail application by 2 of the 5 men accused of the murder of rapper Keenan aka Forbes. Forbes and his friend Tebelo Tips Mutswane were gunned down outside a restaurant in Durban. Last week, the 2 accused brought a new bail application based on what their legal representative said was new facts. All 5 accused were denied bail in May last year following their arrest in February of that year. Dries Liebenberg reports.
At the last appearance, Mzwitemba Gwabeni's advocate told the court that he owes 100,000 rand in school fees because he is in custody. Meanwhile, Lindokuhle Nimande has said in an affidavit that his family is struggling financially. It has also been argued that the case has been delayed because of extradition proceedings of 2 further suspects in Eswatini. Gwabeni is believed to be the alleged mastermind who orchestrated the murders. Magistrate Vincent Klatswayo said in his bail ruling last May that it would be reckless and irresponsible of him to grant bail.
And finally, rising wind speeds are again threatening to fuel multiple wildfires in the LA region. After 2 days of firefighters making some headway, forecasters are warning of a dangerous situation today. Wildfires have been burning for over a week and have killed at least 25 people. Economic losses have been put at around $275 billion. Chad Augustine is the Pasadena fire chief.
This next 24 hours is going to be so important to get through and making sure that we don't have any more fire spread. I'm confident that we have enough firefighters. What we do need is the winds to die down, the weather to cooperate with us, and most importantly, we need some rain.
Recapping the top story, various Gauteng MECs will visit schools across the province this morning. This is part of the provincial government's 2025 Back to School campaign as schools reopen for the new academic year. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
This January, to save money, you could cut back on your child's birthday party pack of goodies, or you could switch to Outsurance and save on your car insurance premium. Get a quote, and if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. Make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
The one to avoid this morning is the N12 at R24 route into Joburg Skululi's interchange. Massive crash, multiple lanes are blocked and very heavy disruption. The N12 is now back at Jet Park. The R24 is almost back as far as Barber Road. If you're coming out of the airport, use alternative routes to avoid the R24. And if you're in from Boksburg and Benoni, get onto some alternative routes as well through that area. Main Reef Road to the south of the N12 looks fairly open and flowing. Heavy pressure on the Pretoria run-in on Shoshanguve's Mobopani Highway. Looks like a problem up at Block XX this morning. Very heavy backlogs into that area. Stormful Road out of Mamelodi into Isteris, that remains heavy. Durban's M7 under pressure into Pinetown. We're sitting from Hunt Stepman Highway through to St John's Avenue Bridge territory. Durban's M2, the usual breakdown before you get to Gateway. The M2 North is backing up from the Kumashu Highway. And if you've missed out earlier reports from the Western Cape, the N2 is closed this morning between Krabo and Botrafia. If you've got to Krabo, you be diverted up through Verleersdorp. If you're coming in from Botrafia, exit and go down Clarence Drive via Claymont and Betty's Bay. Come back out at Somerset West and Gordons Bay off that R44. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. It is soccer news as CAF postpones the African Nations Championship 2024 to August 2025. And at the Australian Open, Naomi Osaka goes through as she takes down Karolina Muchova. Details around 7:30.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
11 minutes after 7 o'clock, you are listening to The Morning Brief. My name is Oliver Dixon. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. There's a femicide crisis in South Africa. 15 women are being killed every day, and many of these murders are committed by partners or people the victims knew and trusted closely and perhaps even intimately. What is to be done? The Department of Women, Youth and People with Disabilities Minister Sindisiwe Chikunga has expressed deep concern over these alarming trends and called for urgent action. What does urgent action look like? We're going to be talking about it. I mean, is there no master plan? There's an entire presidential commission set up for this. We're going to be speaking to David van Wyk, lead researcher at Benchmarks Foundation. 109 bodies of illegal miners trapped in shafts were found as the government's rescue or retrieval efforts are unfolding at the Buffelsfontein gold mine in Stilfontein. 109 bodies. We're going to be getting into the details of that. Martin Meyer, the MEC of Public Works and Infrastructure in KZN, will be joining me. This is a conversation on a supply chain manager in the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure having been dismissed, charged, and now seemingly law enforcement has gotten involved and arrests are imminent with criminal charges having been laid. 1.1 billion rand is the figure in question here. What happened? Well, this person had subverted supply chain regulations, and 1.1 billion had gone to two companies in KZN. No regular procedures were followed, and these two companies happen to share the same address. Is it that they are potentially one company? We're going to be getting the details of that from Martin Meyer, the MEC of Infrastructure Development and Public Works in KZN. And then a little bit later this hour, we're going to be speaking to Kobus Maria, who is the Department of Education at the University of Pretoria's head of the Department of Educational Psychology. And we're going to be talking about the grade 12 matric results, as many learners find themselves grappling with uncertainty and disappointment, particularly if they didn't pass or get the results that they hoped they would and are unable to secure university admission. Can be a very, very challenging time. This is not the end of the road for them, of course, and we'll get into the details of that. It's 13 minutes after 7.
Whether you're having a early, snoozy, tantrumy, chill, frustrating, or jokey morning. Mornings love McDonald's, so choose happy and enjoy a Burry Burger Double and a short filter coffee for only R39.90 from 6 to 10:30 a.m. at McDonald's.
Defending champions Bayer Leverkusen want to stay close to the log leaders, while Borussia Mönchengladbach are navigating a path to the top 4. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Catch Bayer Leverkusen versus Borussia Mönchengladbach on Saturday, 18 January at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
This January, to save money, you could cut back on the milk in your cereal, or you could switch to Outsurance and save on your car insurance premium. Get a quote, and if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. And make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
This is Oliver Dixon on SAFM.
15 minutes after 7 o'clock, South Africa has a femicide problem. Lisa Vetten, Research Associate of the Southern Centre for Inequality Studies and Research Consultant in the University of Johannesburg's Faculty of Humanities, joins us. Lisa, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. 15 women being killed every day, rather 15 women being murdered every day, and many of these taking place or committed by their partners or people they knew closely and intimately. The minister says there's a call for urgent action. What would urgent action look like? Do you have perhaps a crystal ball into the mind of the Minister of Women?
No, I don't, unfortunately. And I think there's a very clear problem around women's murders in South Africa. We saw a peak of murders happening in the 90s. We saw a decline, an ongoing decline until about 2017, close to 2020. But in the last few years, we've seen an increase again. So obviously, about a decade ago, we were able to do something that was bringing the numbers down, and now things have shifted. And if the minister can't tell us what it is, it appears to have changed in the country in the last 5 or 6 years, then obviously we're not going to have a very good grasp on what the problem is and what we need to do about it.
Yeah. One, there has been a presidential commission on gender that has been set up very specifically on with a focus to curb gender-based violence. Have they produced any action plan of any sort that would help us navigate through, not from a policing, not from a reactive point of view, but from a preventative point of view, what could be done?
Well, National Strategic Plan around gender-based violence and femicide was issued in 2020. And then we've also had the amendments to the Domestic Violence Act, which are relevant. That's also come into effect. And there was also a strategy developed specifically for femicide in 2022. So there have been documents produced. It's very difficult to get a sense of what has actually been implemented thus far that is new and that is different to anything we've been doing in the last 30-odd years that would actually make a difference. And as I said, because we don't know what we were doing in that period to bring down the number, we are also really operating, I think, from guesswork at this point.
Let's speak about the specific dynamics of intimate partner violence and intimate partner-related murders, because that seems to be a leading driving force behind femicide in South Africa. Where are we getting intimate partner violence conversations wrong?
That's a very difficult thing to answer, Oliver. I mean, murder can be quite a difficult thing to prevent because a lot of it is unpredictable. It occurs within contexts perhaps where people might have been drinking, for example, and then they don't think it all very well. It might also have been precipitated by personal difficulties in someone's life, which are also not predictable either. So in some instances, I think it's very hard to know when it's going to happen. But you can see very difficult dynamics in people's relationships. So I think if we were to be able to do something like have more of an effect on domestic violence, which is implicated in a lot of these murders, that would make a difference. Yeah. So having protection orders that work effectively, I think the other thing we've also got to pay attention to is a very high-risk time for women tends to be when they end relationships.
Is it easy easy to get a protection order?
It has its difficulties. I mean, often those arise around delays in them being served, for example, because possibly the partner will run away and hide and refuse to accept the order, for example. There can be difficulties in the police going out timeously, promptly, and urgently. So that's also got to be looked at. There's also been a new provision introduced in the amendments I spoke about earlier called a safety monitoring notice, which, if ordered by the courts, means that the police will be required to go and check up and visit on a particular woman on a very regular basis, to remain in contact with her to find out how safe she is. That's important, but by the end of 2024, they'd piloted it at one police station only.
Yeah.
So that's where things need to pick up a bit.
Lisa, thank you so much for your time and your insights this morning. Really do appreciate it. Lisa Vetten from the University of Johannesburg. On the other side of this, we speak to David van Wyk.
The Bees want to be all over the pitch and keep the 3 points on home ground.
It could be 5 to Brentford. There's Wishers in here. Brentford have got 5 goals as St Mary's.
Meanwhile, the Reds want to emphasize that they will never walk alone, but with victory.
Lovely ball. Gakpo. Goal! Brilliant as well, as ever, from Cody Gakpo.
This is the Premier League, striving for excellence. Experience the glittering encounter between Brentford FC and Liverpool FC on Saturday, 18 January at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC3. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
Minister Kwede Mantashe, the Minister of Mineral Resources and Petroleum Resources, had visited the Stilfontein mine, the Buffelsfontein gold mine in Stilfontein, to, I don't know, monitor what's going on and engage with the community. The Mining Affected Communities United in Action Makua organization had said this was merely just a PR exercise, and that the minister didn't engage in earnest. Very importantly, he stressed the importance of not equating the protection of minors' rights with condoning criminal activities, the minister that is. Of course, once again, bringing into stark contrast that what we're effectively talking about here are illegal miners. 109 bodies have been retrieved thus far in this retrieval operation. David, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. David, are you with us?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
There we go, loud and clear. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. Does the state have a sense of how to get a grip over illegal mining? Because the Operation Valamgoti seems to have been largely reactionary to the problem, and there isn't much of a preventative exercise around illegal mining, but very specifically having a conversation with artisanal miners about artisanal mining and a charter around that specifically to regularize the artisanal mining activities.
Well, I think that, we have for the past 3 years worked with the National Department of Minerals and Energy around creating a white paper, and we made major submissions to that white paper, and we were hoping that those regulations would have been in place by now. I know that the department is involved in training artisanal miners throughout the country, but there are many shortcomings in that white paper as well, which we've also pointed out, which possibly has led to this particular situation. But also the minister yesterday blamed mining companies and syndicates, which is correct. He should blame them. But at the same time, if mining companies did not do what they were supposed to do around mine closure and rehabilitation, then the department should have had the oversight to, catch that before it became a problem and force mining companies to actually close their shafts and rehabilitate their shafts properly. The issue of syndicates is also a very interesting one, because many of these workers in that mine shaft will tell you that they were recruited in Lesotho, and they were recruited as if they were coming to a formal mining operation. This became apparent in 2018 already, and those shafts have been worked since 2018, so it's not a new thing. And we need to know who are the labor brokers who go to Lesotho to recruit people. We need to know what is the network that is operating. And, as in South Africa with the drug trade, for example, very often the criminals even appear in the media. Sarel Sello, for example, from Lesotho, who's a kingpin in this whole thing, appears in the media and has appeared in the media before. And Bekesele has met with Sarel Sello at OR Tambo Airport after a massacre in Netherlands, and the man wasn't arrested, even though he was a prime suspect in that particular case. So we need to do our work when we are in government. We should not just occupy offices with all the benefits of that office without overseeing and doing the actual work that we are put there for by the population.
Yeah. Is Operation Valamgoti a necessary condition for the reform of what seems to be dilapidated and abandoned mines on the one hand, but also hijacked mines on the other hand, to bring down kingpins like the man you had just mentioned?
Well, I think that this operation, it's not a policing problem, and we've been saying this all along. It's a mining and economics problem. We need to we need to create a process by which mines close down in an orderly fashion so that they don't impact on the rest of the economy in that particular town and in the country as a whole. We are retrenching tens of thousands of mine workers every year because we are in a transition from large-scale industrial mining to medium and smaller scale mining. And we need to plan for that. So we need to know in advance when a mine is going to close down. We need to know what steps that mine is going to take, that those workers are skilled with portable skills that they can take to other areas of the economy, or what the mine did in the labor sending areas to absorb those people back in the labor sending areas so that they don't come back as informal or illegal miners. So we also need to know what to do with the infrastructure of the mines, which is often substantial, that we can use in a post-mining economy, which is what we're not doing. We are not planning. And not planning is planning to fail.
Yeah, we're going to have to leave it there. David van Wyk, thank you so much for your time and your insights. Really do appreciate it. We speak to the MEC of Public Works and Infrastructure in KZN, Martin Meyer.
The Morning Brief, weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
The Director for Supply Chain Management in KZN's Department of Public Works and Infrastructure had been arrested. This person facilitated, according to the department, over 1.1 billion rands in tenders going to one company. 26 tenders and counting having been awarded to one company. And all those tenders are littered with irregularities. MEC, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Describe to us some of those irregularities that had led to the department dismissing this municipal supply chain manager.
Well, so I think one of the major things is that we cannot have a situation where one company gets a monopoly over the contracts of a department like Public Works and Infrastructure. We have to make sure that it is shared in a fair way, but what is to the best interest of the people. And then there's a lot of questions regarding the quality of work done, have the work actually be done, and things that flagged these tenders and the services by this company, which led us to this investigation. It's obviously an ongoing investigation. Some other officials are also being investigated, but we are very happy that one person has been found guilty, and I have to add that this has been done very quickly. There's been no more days of officials sitting at home for a year or 2 years on full pay. It was 60 days from when the case started until he was found guilty and was dismissed from the department.
The department then subsequently had handed over this case file and investigation to law enforcement authorities for criminal prosecution. What are the evidentiary data points the department relied on here? What specifically did this official do?
So the main thing that we first investigated was the fact that it was a gross negligence from himself and his duties as the director of SCM. There's other matters as well that he's found guilty of, like the mismanagement of the tools of trade, cell phones. So we had over 57 former officials of the department whose cell phones were never handed back. We were still paying for them even though they were no longer an employee. And he gave himself 4 cell phones, which obviously is not within the regulation. So there's many other things that he was found guilty of. But why we've handed it over now to the Hawks for further investigation is obviously this raised red flags, whether there was improper conduct and improper relationship between himself and this company. We as the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure do not have the capability to investigate something like that. We cannot subpoena courts, bank statements and all those type of things. Only the law enforcement agencies can do so. So that's why we then said, let's make sure that there has been no improper or corrupt activities here, or if there has been, let's make sure that necessary action has been taken. So we've handed over the findings of our disciplinary hearing and investigation over to the Hawks for further investigation to see if there's then a criminal case to be had. And of course, we would also like to, if possible, to recoup some of this money. If there has been criminal action, we would like to recoup some of this money, because this is the money of the people of KwaZulu-Natal.
Okay, let's try that again and hopefully get a more pointed answer. In relation to the 1.1 billion rand and the 26 contracts awarded to this one company, the allegation is that the director of supply chain management is guilty of gross negligence and failing to manage procurement processes. What does that mean in practice? Does it mean they were taking kickbacks, they were getting kickbacks, that they were deliberately obfuscating material, that they were lying? What exactly is the transgression at a specific? Practicalize it for me. I want to imagine it.
Yeah. So some of the things that came forward is that there has been irregularities with the tender. So, for instance, pages of tender documents of other companies would have disappeared, went missing. That the process wasn't free, fair, and open to everyone. So there's been a lot of irregularities. But as I said, whether there is a legal connection here, so whether the law was broken and it was a clear corruption, we need the investigators of the Hawks to assist us with that, because we don't have the abilities to investigate it ourselves. But I think there's a definite case to answer. We saw that that there was clear irregularities. Oh, sorry, my English daughter's up today. Happening on with these cases, and I have to add to that as well. I think it's fair of the people of KwaZulu-Natal to ask of us, and we saw that all over social media, saying, but please, there needs to be further investigation. Please lay criminal charges. And we agree that there's smoke, and where there's smoke, there's a fire. And we're now asking the Hawks, please assist us with this, investigate us.
So just for clarity right now, this director was dismissed for irregularities and perhaps giving themselves 5 cell phones, and not specifically dismissed for conclusively being able to determine corruption on their part.
For that, there's a criminal case to be answered, and that's what we're asking the Hawks to.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. That is the MEC of Public Works and Infrastructure, Martin Meyer, in KwaZulu-Natal. It is 31 minutes after 7 o'clock. Let's take your latest headlines.
Good morning. Thanks, Oliver. In the headlines, Western Cape Education authorities say more than 1.1 million learners in the province will return to school today for the new academic year. At least 107,000 children will kickstart grade 1. The South African Weather Service has issued a yellow level 2 warning of severe thunderstorms and a 60% chance of showers in KwaZulu-Natal today. And anti-corruption investigators in South Korea have arrested the suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol. He's been taken in for questioning on charges of interaction and abuse of power over his attempt to impose martial law. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A very heavy delay to the Galuli's interchange coming in from Ekurhuleni into Joburg this morning. Stay off the N12 west, I beg your pardon. Stay off the R24 west. Both of those routes are badly backed up. The N12 extending back into Boksburg, R24 back towards the Eden Valley. It's a big crash. Multiple lanes are closed and extremely heavily backed up traffic. Just imagine the mess that it is on the back to school day as well. Other noticeable standouts this morning: Irene, Main and Nelmapia is very heavy. Old Joburg Road through Central Centurion at Mopani Road, big traffic days there. Out of Mamelodi, Storamful Road through Esterus towards Pretoria stays busy, and Mopani Highway and XX recovering, starting to move, but there's a big queue down Thea Martins around to Bremer Street side. Taking forever to clear a breakdown on Durban's N2 northbound. It's been stuck there all morning in the roadworks before Gateway. Traffic's now back beyond the Kumashu Highway and back to Queen Nandi, so if you're on your way to the airport, you will encounter quite a sizable delay. Cape Town a crash, N2 out of town before Macassar. If you're on your way out towards Somerset West, there's quite a big queue from Baden-Powell Drive. Pretty busy morning, the busiest morning so far of 2025 for Cape Townians. It's traffic all over the place, and on top of that, you've got the closure of the N2 between Botrafia and Krabo. Protesting this morning between those two towns has closed the N2. You'll divert through Villiers-Dorp or down along the R44 through Kleinmont. And a reminder of protesting blocking the R61 just outside Port St John on the Mtata Road. The protesting there around the landmark of Majola T. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai is here with the latest in sports. Zai, we finally have an AFCON date.
We do. Postponed to August, but Patrice Motsepe, he is confident. They do have a bit of time. That's Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. But let me tell you, Oliver, this is an exciting time for African football. They were set to take off in February this year. The tournament is hosted by Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. They'll now take place in August with the exact dates yet to be confirmed. And I think there'll be infrastructure development across these three countries, and saying that the delay will ensure stadiums, training grounds, hotels and other facilities meet the highest standards. Now, despite the postponement, the tournament draw is set to proceed today in Kenya. Let's go to more soccer news. AmaZulu have signed Namibia international Elmo Kabindu from Chippa United as they further strengthen their squad in the January transfer window. The 31-year-olds joined Sandile Mtetwa and Bongani Zungu as recent additions as AmaZulu chase a top 8 finish this season after a disappointing last campaign. Elsewhere, Nuno Espirito Santo said it was all about heart and desire after his Nottingham Forest side held on for a 1-1 home draw with Premier League leaders Liverpool. Let's hear from Nuno Espirito Santo.
We are competing very well. I keep insisting, and this is the approach and the mentality of the squad. It's about playing, competing, improving, realizing which are our strengths and which are our weaknesses, and getting to know ourselves better can only make us compete in the future in a better way. You know what I think about the table. For now, it's not important. It's what we and how we're going to prepare against Southampton.
Tennis action. Former Australian Open champion Naomi Osaka fought back from a set down to reach the third round of a Grand Slam for the first time since the birth of her daughter in 2023. The Japanese star, who won in Melbourne in 2019 and 2021, dropped the first set against the 20th seed Karolina Mukova before winning 1-6, 6-1, 6-3. And João Fonseca had a Grand Slam debut to remember. He knocked out the 9th seed Andrei Rublev in the first round of the Australian Open. The 18-year-old Brazilian thrilled the crowd, 7-6, 6-3, 7-6, and that was his victory against Rublev. On to golf. The first big easy tour event of the year got off to a scintillating start, as the final event of last year did, with Xander Basson producing yet another fine effort to share the early lead at the Ibotse Links. His unblemished 6 under par 66 gave him a share of the lead alongside Centurion Country Club amateur Wanre Sneeman. And finally, motorsport. Saudi Arabia's local hero Yazid Al-Raji is in the overall lead for the first time at this year's Dakar Rally, finishing third in stage 9, taking over from South Africa's Henk Lateghan, who suffered 2 punctures. Al-Raji, the Toyota Overdrive Racing team, finished just over 3 minutes behind the 5 times Dakar winner Qatar's Nasser Al Attiyah, who won the 357-kilometer stage between Riyadh and Harad, with South Africa's Lateghan down in 11th place. Let's hear from the local hero in Saudi Arabia, Yazid Al-Raji.
I am very happy. We do a great job, like our plan. I think we good push. We enjoy, that's most important. I hope everything going well to next 3 days and to win Dakar.
More sport for you on the morning brief at the top of the hour. I'm Zaikan.
Speaking of golf, do you know who played yesterday?
Oliver Dixon?
No, Tiger Woods in this weird golf thing that they called TGL, which is like a stadium-based thing. I don't watch it. I'm going to watch it after this because it was like in the AMs of this morning. But apparently he and his teammate Max Homer, one of my favorite golfers, played horribly, so I'm not excited to go and watch it. But you should check it out. I don't know if you've seen TGL's new. It started last week.
Yeah, you don't like how you said you're more a test guy than the IPL. This indoor league golf thing doesn't do it for me.
Me neither, but I'll give it a chance. I'll give it a chance and I'll see how it goes.
Okay, golf reimagined. We'll bring you more sport, all of this and more at the top of the hour. Thanks, Oliver.
That's Zai. Let's speak to Ndaleng up next.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Ndaleng joins us. Ndaleng, in DRC, Vodacom is teaming up with its competitor, Orange.
Yes, they are. So they've partnered up to build and operate cell phone towers in the DRC. This joint venture aims to increase mobile coverage in rural DRC. Both companies plan on building solar power mobile base stations in those areas. The partnership will extend network coverage and provide access to telecommunications and mobile financial services to up to 19 million people. The companies plan to build up to 2,000 new solar powered base stations over 6 years using 2G and 4G technologies. The project will start with an initial commitment of 1,000 sites. It is, however, still subject to regulatory regulatory approval and is expected to start operating this year. Now, this deal is in line with increased international M&A activity playing out in that sector. We've seen some big players teaming up and pooling in their resources to build infrastructure. Some of the big deals over the past year include Vodafone merging with 3UK in Britain and Orange and MásMóvil tie-up in Spain. Some stumbling blocks here at home, though, with that competition tribunal blocking the Vodacom massive deal. Those two firms are in the process of appealing that decision.
You know, M&A is going to be so exciting in 2025. I'm looking forward to all of it. Oil and gas major BP warns of weaker results for Q4. What's going on there?
So they've cautioned that its fourth quarter results will be impacted by lower oil and gas production, as well as refining margins and trading performance. The company also announced that it would delay its highly anticipated Investor Day due to CEO Marie Aquino-Klaas's recovery from a medical procedure. Aquino-Klaas is expected to return to the office in February, and the Investor Day, initially scheduled for the 11th of February in New York, will now take place on the 26th of February in London. This delay adds to challenges Aquino-Klaas has faced since taking office, including investor concerns over the company's strategy and the abrupt resignation of his predecessor, Bernard Looney. At the rescheduled Investor Day, Aquino-Klaas is expected to unveil his strategy for the company, which has slowed down investments in renewables and low-carbon energy since he took office. Analysts have expressed concerns that the company's current direction may not be sufficient to address investor concerns. BP warned that its fourth quarter results will be impacted by a decline in refining margins, a turnaround in maintenance activity, and lower oil production. The company expects a $300 million drop in profit on a quarter-on-quarter basis, with further reductions in its oil production and operations units.
Let's take a look at those market indicators this morning.
So starting off in Asia, stocks mixed on that end. Trade really choppy as investors eye political developments in South Korea following the arrest of the president. Despite that, the South Korean KOPSI is trading slightly higher, up 0.1%. The Japanese Nikkei, in the meantime, in the red, down, losing 0.2%. Meanwhile, in Wall Street, investors cautious, digesting the producer prices print while awaiting that all-important CPI number. Ahead of that, futures are pretty flat on that end. And then coming back home, sentiment improving with the all share edging higher in yesterday's trading session, up 0.1%. The rand also trading slightly stronger, recovering from a 9-month low. It's at 18.93 against the dollar.
Yep, and darling, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. We'll catch up in the next hour. Advocate Sipho Mantula standing by with your Africa update.
This is Oliver Dixon on SAFM.
We definitely know what good insurance is. Our insurance don't delay when it comes to any claims. If something happens to one of our vehicles on the road, service delivery is the main thing.
They make sure that you are a satisfied customer from the beginning to the end.
It's definitely a win-win with our insurance.
Switch to Business Outsurance today and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Abafana has turned and the Rockets are both looking for a decent spot in the top half. They are all confident they will walk away from the battlefield with jubilance. This is the Betway Premiership. Catch the great passion and drama of Mzansi's beautiful game. Golden Arrows FC takes on TS Galaxy FC on Saturday, 18 January, live on SABC 1 at 2:30 p.m. and SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Africa Update on SAFM.
It is time for the Africa Update. Advocate Sipho Mantula is with us. We start out in Mozambique, where the president of South Africa, Ramaphosa, had snubbed seemingly the inauguration of Daniel Chapo, but Ronald Lamola is there.
Indeed, Oliver, today is the national holiday actually in Mozambique with the inauguration of Daniel Francisco Chapo. It is expected for Minister of International Relations Ronald Lamola to represent South Africa in this inauguration. We have seen Portugal also sending their Minister of Foreign Affairs, Paul Rangela, and other other SADC members sending representatives. So one will say it's a very low-note inauguration, despite that you are still having protests on the streets. Oliver, quickly I'll say to the listeners, who is Daniel Chapo, who will be inaugurated today? He's a politician, a lawyer, a jurist, a former radio announcer, by the way, Oliver, and a news presenter in one of the TV stations, and is currently the Secretary General of Frelimo. So when you look at who's Daniel Chapo, it is important to look that he was a governor of Ihambane province before he was elected last year in 2024 in May as the interim Secretary General of Frelimo, as well as the presidential candidate. So Mozambique, Oliver, today, even if they are going for the inauguration, you still have simmering protests of the youth. You still have many international lawyers sending petitions to the African Court, to the ICC, but I will think that many leaders, SADC, I'm not sure whether Emerson Mnangagwa will be there, Oliver, Samia Sulu will be there, I'm not sure, but I think this inauguration will be at the Independence Square. Hence I said it's a holiday in Mozambique.
Yeah, and out in Burkina Faso, this might be symbolic but carries some significance in an effort to decolonize the judiciary there. They have banned those terrible-looking wigs.
Absolutely. This came from the President, Captain Ibrahim Traore, who says that Burkina Faso is embracing their cultural identity. So you have banned the use of the British and the French colonial-style wigs that is used by the judges. And you'll understand, Oliver, this has moved many African countries. I think Benin, Ghana has looked into that. But here, Burkina Faso, it is saying that it is important for them to look at their own history, their own culture. And I think they've also changed their uniform for their children at schools, Oliver, as today is back to school. Even in many African countries, you find Burkina Faso is leading on this issue of cultural heritage.
Yeah, and there's a looming humanitarian crisis in the city of Uvira in South Kivu in the DRC. What's going on?
You know, Oliver, this is very sad because when I look at the mayor's comment in Uvira in the DRC, he says that Lake Tanganyika receded in the 1960s about 150 meters. But between 2023, 24, and 25 now, the lake has reclaimed its shores. It means that, those areas where once land now are now submerged into the water, Oliver. It means that we have a serious challenge that is facing the eastern DRC, where the flooding has caused 3,000 homes to be submerged and 36,000 people to be displaced. Now, this is a call coming from the DRC, particularly on the rising waters in the Lake Tanganyika. So they are calling for the international humanitarian support.
Yeah, and in southern African waters, it's all not so great either, with tropical storm Dikeledi making its way to Madagascar and Mozambique.
Oliver, we cannot run away from this. This has been coming. We saw tropical Dikeledi, others are saying now is moving towards the cyclone. Remember with cyclone Idai, Frida, affecting Madagascar, Mozambique, and Malawi. Now the weather services that are reporting from Reunion Islands and as well as from France, they are raising the question that this cyclone now, this tropical is moving to a cyclone. It might affect some parts of Malagasy coast today, and as well as it has went through the Mozambique Channel yesterday, and on the 13th and the 14th, but today it's moving towards Malagasy. There were news saying that people thought it would come to South Africa, Oliver, but Limpopo is not to be certain. There are still precaution measures that we have seen of tornadoes and floods in some of our provinces in South Africa, but Dikeledi is moving towards Madagascar towards the end of the week.
Yeah, and in our historical archives, it was on this day in 1996 when King Moshoeshoe II, previously known as Constantine Bereng Seeiso, transitioned.
That's quite true, and our listeners from Lesotho, I think they know that this day is very sad, where they lost one of their kings at the age of 57 on a road accident on this day. Remember, King Moshoeshoe II, Oliver, was also awarded a Supreme Companion of the Order of Companions of OR Tambo in 2006. in South Africa posthumously in terms of recognizing the role of King Moshoeshoe II. He has been involved in the liberation of Lesotho from the British colonial power during that time. Hence, I say to you, this is a very important, sober day for the people of the kingdoms of the mountains of Lesotho, remembering King Moshoeshoe II, who was born in 1938, but passing on this day, on the 15th of January, 1996. Asante sana, Oliver, Eswatini did a conversation, SAFM, observing the Education Month.
Yep. Advocate Sipho Mantula, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. On the other side of this, we speak to Kobus Maria, who is with the University of Pretoria in the Department of Educational Psychology. You may have passed your grade 12, or you may not have. You may not be uncertain about what your future holds for you, or you may be the parent of a child who's uncertain about what their future holds for them after matric. We talk about the psyche around that. 10 minutes to 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's a very heavy morning for motorists through the Ekurhuleni part of Gauteng today. Obviously, our top story is the big crash going into Galilee's M12 and R24. It's heavily backed up. M12 back to Jet Park, R24 halfway back towards Barbara Road. If you're coming from Boksburg, Benoni, coming out of the airport or in from Kempton Park, avoid the run into Galilee's. Pretty heavily delayed on the N3 North into a crash at Hilton Ace Interchange. That traffic is badly backed up past the cement factory and queues deep into Ilan's Interchange. Not too bad through Pretoria Midrand, interestingly, on a back-to-school Wednesday. The N1 highway moving reasonably okay. Which is very counterintuitive, if you ask me. Durban, the N2 going north, looks like that breakdown at Gateway is being cleared. The traffic is starting to ease. There is very heavy traffic on the M4 Blue Lagoon up to Virginia Airport, and that's on the way to Umhlanga. And Umhlanga Rocks Drive between Umhlanga and Durban North, quite heavily backed as well today. Cape Town, two major blockages on the N2. One that we've been reporting, the road closed between Botrafia and Grabo. That's due to protesting near Hohook Pass, so you'll be diverted around that one. And then if you're driving out of Cape Town, the N2 is closed going into Macassar. There's a big truck crash there between Baden-Powell and Macassar. The N2 is blocked and traffic backing up approaching Baden-Powell, and then divert onto that particular route. Also worth noting, the R300 quite busy this morning from the Stellenbosch arterial. It's all jammed up towards the Van Riebeek Road off-ramp. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
VfB Stuttgart are strategizing on how to secure a dignified top half position, while RB Leipzig are aware of how crucial victory will be for them to rise higher. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch VfB Stuttgart versus RB Leipzig on Wednesday, 15 January at 9:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and you get Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
This is Oliver Dixon on SAFM.
As the matric results are now simmering and settling into the minds of the grade 12 matriculants that of 2024 who had received their results, many of them are celebrating, many not so much. Many of them find themselves having to pick themselves up after either a poor performance or an unsatisfactory performance with looming uncertainty about their future. Kobus Maria, who's with the University of Pretoria's Department of Educational Psychology, joins us. Kobus, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Before you can plan your future, you must at least have the courage to pick your head up after such a difficult outcome, maybe one you hoped would have reflected a little bit better. How do you begin to talk to a child, an 18-year-old, to get themselves, to pick themselves up and be optimistic again?
Number one, there's no need to feel desperate, to feel overly anxious, etc. It's normal to feel disappointed in one's marks, but let's put the past behind us and look forward. There are many opportunities. University, for instance, is not the be-all and the end-all of tertiary studies, nothing like it. First step, rewrite matric if necessary. Second step, have some of your papers remarked if you wish. You stand to lose nothing. Number 3, enroll for supplementary exams. Enroll at a college. Go back to school. Complete your year again. There are many opportunities. If that's not your cup of tea, then technical, vocational education and training. Go to my website, go to the web. There are numerous opportunities that can render you employable at the end of your studies. Learnerships, CETAs, apprenticeships.
Yeah. Because perhaps we just talk about that, because there are so many options. It might be difficult to map out a pathway towards, and I do want you to give me a call if you're listening to this conversation right now. Perhaps you're having to have that conversation with your child right now about mapping out their pathway. 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032, and maybe even a WhatsApp voice note on 0614 104 107, 0614 104 107. Let me know what dynamics you're looking at and are most difficult for you in that conversation. Kobus, with all these options that exist, CETAs, FET colleges, perhaps even taking a gap year, perhaps getting some workplace experience if you're lucky enough to get such an opportunity, perhaps to redo your matric results or your matric exams, all of these options can become overwhelming. How do you guide someone to choose the decision or the option that's best fit for their circumstances?
Well, consult the career psychologists closest to you. They are available. There are many of them. Just Google. Go to the website, the South African Association for Psychology website, etc. There are numerous ones. You can go to my own website. I've written a lot about that. Contact details you can find on my website under the heading Resources. So consult somebody, plan ahead. This time, you need to plan carefully, strategically. That's it. Find somebody. There are people. Speak with your life orientation teacher. Ask them to refer you to somebody. There's a world of opportunities out there.
Yeah. And once some of these opportunities have financial implications, when you come from a background where you have already limited resources, it can be even more daunting and difficult to navigate the options that are available for you. How does that conversation play out with yourself as a matriculant or someone that just passed matric right now? Perhaps you're a parent of an anxious child right now, but you have limited resources to help them reclaim that path to their future.
Go to the CETAs. You will not have to pay anything. Go to my website. Go to the web. Just search for bursaries, financial support for people with disadvantage. There are numerous opportunities. Just do your homework properly. Go to the web. Search for these. You'll find them. Take the time, travel to the nearest mine in your environment. Talk about an apprenticeship there. Like I said, you will get paid. You will not pay anything. Talk with people. Talk with TVET colleges, etc. There are always bursaries available for people that cannot afford it. Don't please feel despondent. It's not the case.
Yeah. And there's also the psychological step of having to accept that maybe you are not following the ideal path of going directly to a university. Perhaps you might have to go to a college and do N1 to N6 program first before you convert over to a degree program. Or perhaps you might have to stagger your post-high school education journey in ways that is outside of the norm or outside of the convention. And there's a level of prestige that we place in society on a university education. It is important that we change our mindsets around that. How do we begin to do so, Kobus?
Well said. I love what you said. Listen, go to the website, just search SAQA SAQA or search for SACDA SAQDA. There are people available to guide you, but listen, the big thing here is don't just jump into it. Speak with people that have already completed a study at the institution where you wish to study. And please go to somebody to help you map out your career trajectory. They are available. Like I said, I've given you lots of opportunities. SAQDA, SAQWA, you can SMS them, you can phone them, you can send them a WhatsApp, you can chat with somebody at SAQDA. It's not going to cost you anything. So just search. Remember what we tell our clients, our patients, as psychologists is the first thing you do, the most important, is to get people to do something.
Absolutely.
Do something.
Yeah, Kobus Maria, thank you so much for your time this morning. Really do appreciate it. Kobus Maria is with the University of Pretoria's Department of Educational Psychology. Let's have a listen at these WhatsApp voice notes before the top of the hour.
The Morning Brief, weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, good morning. This is Melu Simamba speaking. My two children are starting their new school today. We are already on our way to school. The girl is going to start for grade 8 at Lowveld High School in Nelspruit. Her name is Simpiwe Mamba, shout out to her. And then the boy is going to start his grade 4 at Springer Primary School. Both of them in Nelspruit. We are traveling from Barberton to Nelspruit. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, good morning, Oliver. Compliment for the new season. This is Nicky here. Oliver, I really think it's now time for the government to fight strongly this corruption and other things. And I can say that they are slowly getting it right. How can a person be charged for over 1 billion? Where is his conscience? No. I'm really annoyed, and at the same time, I'm happy that some of these criminals, they are getting to the book, because they've been doing this thing. They've been blaming this government. They've been blaming the ANC, the IFP, whatever party. But the problem is lying with them. Yeah. Good morning, Oliver.
Thank you very much for that. Keep those voice notes coming in on 0614104107. It's almost a minute after 8 o'clock, and Musa has your latest news bulletin.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, more than 1 million Western Cape learners to start school today, and a weather warning for KwaZulu-Natal. Good morning. Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis has wished learners and parents well for the new academic year. Western Cape Education authorities say more than 1.1 million learners in the province will return to school today for the new academic year. At least 107,000 children will start grade 1, while those starting high school are at the 100,000 mark. Hill-Lewis shared this message.
And I want to wish all our children starting school again today so well for their first day back. And especially all of those starting in new schools in grade 1 or in grade 8. I hope you all have so much fun and enjoy it. And to all of Cape Town's parents, I hope that you're not too emotional watching your little ones go off back to school today. But actually it's okay if you are. Have fun, everyone.
As the schools reopen for the new academic year, some learners will be seeing the inside of a classroom for the first time. SABC reporter Paul Magubane and mother of 2 boys is among hundreds of parents who are taking their children to school this morning. One of the boys, Kiagabetswe, will be starting grade 1 at Pinnacle in Modderfontein, east of Johannesburg. She filed this report.
I'm traveling with my son Tateho Ngwepe, who's going to grade 3, and Kiagabetsu Ngwepe, who is starting grade 1, joining his brother in big school. Kiagabetsu, how do you feel about today, my baby?
I feel good. I feel excited about going to grade 1, and it's gonna be fun. And then we're gonna do a lot of work, and then so much work.
The Border Management Authority, BMA, is calling on travellers and cargo operators to use alternative ports of entry following the temporary closure of Groblersbrug border post outside Lephalale in Limpopo yesterday. The port of entry links the country with Botswana and the northwestern side of the province. It has been closed following rising water levels in the Limpopo River. BMA spokesperson Meme Mogotsi says they are closely monitoring the situation.
We assure the public that the situation is being closely monitored on an hourly basis and that regular updates will be provided. For diversion of movements, stockport and blood-jam ports of entries can be used as alternatives by travelers and small vehicles, as these are non-commercial ports. For cargo movements, travelers and truck operators are advised to use Skilpad's Heck, Ramatlabama Bait Bridge and Kopfontein as alternative ports of entries.
The South African Weather Service has issued a yellow level 2 warning of severe thunderstorms and a 60% chance of showers in KwaZulu-Natal today. Weather forecaster Wiseman Dlamini says motorists are advised to be extra cautious as traffic volumes increase due to the reopening of schools. Dlamini elaborates on the areas expected to be most affected by the wet weather conditions.
And also there is a warning, yellow level 2 warning for severe thunderstorms over municipalities like Utsugula district, Amachuba, some parts of Muzinyati, Mkungundlovu and Herigwala.
Further field and finally, anti-corruption investigators in South Korea have arrested the suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol. He's been taken in for questioning on charges of interaction and abuse of power over his attempt to impose martial law. A statement from the president says he decided to give himself up to avoid bloodshed, although it does not mean that he agrees with the investigation. The BBC's Shaima Khalil reports.
This is a remarkable moment, really, for South Korea and for South Korean political history. This is the first time in the country's history that a sitting president is arrested. We heard from the Corruption Investigation Office, the CIO, that they were able to successfully execute the arrest warrant with police officers after hours of trying to get as close as they could and enter the presidential compound. We also then saw news reports of a motorcade that was said to be the president's motorcade going into the Corruption Investigation Office, and now it's been confirmed that he actually made it there.
Recapping the top story, Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis has wished learners and parents well for the new academic year. Western Cape Education authorities say more than 1.1 million learners in the province will return to school today for the new academic year. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
This January, to save money, you could piggyback on your friend's streaming service, or you could switch to Outsurance and save on your car insurance premium. Get a quote, and if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask for 500 Rand cash. And make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out through to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good and bad news from the Ekaraneti side this morning. The good news is the earlier crash at Galulis, which caused major backlogs on the N12 and R24, is being cleared. It will take a while for that traffic just to sort of process through and normalise. It is still heavily backed up, but the obstruction is now out of the way. At the same time, the bad news there is a crash on the N3 north at Heldon Ace interchange, very heavy out of Germiston and Alberton. Remarkably, the N1 between Pretoria and Joburg via Midrand looking good this morning. No major problems there. Durban, a crash on the M4. This is the Ruth First Highway northbound up by Virginia Airport. If you're on your way to Umhlanga, the traffic's heavily backed all the way to Blue Lagoon. N2 south and Getter Road into Spaghetti Junction, recovering after an earlier breakdown. And two major closures of the N2 around Cape Town. So the first closure is between Baden-Powell and Macassar going outbound towards Somerset West. That's due to a truck crash, so all the traffic queuing into Baden-Powell and then an off-ramp at the Baden-Powell exit. And the other closure we've been detailing this morning remains the N2 between Bottrafia and Krabo. The road remains closed due to protesting. The alternative routes are the longer way round via Villiersdorp or the R44 coastal route via Claremont to Gordons Bay. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. It's Soccer News. Percy Tau breaks his silence about his lucrative move to Qatar. And in tennis action, Carlos Alcaraz cruises into the third round. He takes a straight set win over Yoshihito Nishioka, and that's at the Australian Open. All the details around 8:30.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 8 o'clock, this is the Morning Brief. My name is Oliver Dixon. Thank you so much for being with me this morning. Really do appreciate it. Your landlord might have sent you that text or that email at the start of this year saying that, hey, in 2025, your rental is going to go up by this amount or this percentage, and it might be stress-inducing. But more importantly, you might be in the market for a property of sorts, and there's some interesting trends and changes in the market that you need to be aware of and be astute to. We're going to be speaking to Waldo Marcus, the director of TPN from MRI Software. We're going to be getting a sense of some of the changes in the sector. And then we're going to be speaking to Dr. Chris de Kock, who's a crime analyst. Does South Africa have a mass shooting problem? 9,000 people lost their lives over the past 5 years to very specifically mass shootings. And they seem to be more and more frequent. Of course, you would recall the mass shooting in the tavern in Pinars in Mpumalanga over the weekend, where 8 people had lost their lives. They are very commonplace in South Africa. It is absolutely scary. All of that and more coming up in this hour. You can give me a call, 086 000 2032. Send me a WhatsApp voice note, 0614 104 107. Let's take your calls and your WhatsApp voice notes.
Outsurance has another random fact for you. In 1999, cooking oil cost about 4 Rand. Now it's about 37 Rand. Times have changed, but Outsurance could help you make ends meet with great car insurance savings. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754 to switch and save today. Let's hear how Lebo feels about saving 790 Rand a month on her 2023 Audi Q5.
I am very, very happy. I'm super happy. I can say go to Outsurance for you to be able to save more.
Heard about the Out bonus? After 3 consecutive years of not claiming, you'll get 10% of your paid premiums back in cash.
Outsurance looks for a reason to pay, not for a reason not to pay.
Why would you want to be with anyone else? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
All our esteemed educators, a warm welcome back to school for the year 2025 calendar year. SACE, your professional regulatory body, wishes you an incredible and successful year ahead. Thank you for achieving quality, outstanding 2024 results across all school grades. Continue to inspire a credible and agile teaching profession in and outside your school environment. Your worth and dignity are valued.
Defending champions Bayer Leverkusen want to stay close to the log leaders, while Borussia Mönchengladbach are navigating a path to the top 4. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Catch Bayer Leverkusen versus Borussia Mönchengladbach on Saturday, 18 January at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Whether you're having a morning or a morning, you woke up like this or like this. Mornings love McDonald's, so choose happy and enjoy a short filter coffee for only 14.90 Rand at McDonald's. What's not to?
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Talk to me. Give me a call, 086 000 2032. Let's have a listen at some of your WhatsApp voice notes.
Hi, good morning, Oliver and Nora here in Heidelberg. Oliver, you know, I only know 2 parents that have kids that just passed their matric. I only have 2 friends that have these kids. And both these kids have decided to take a gap year and they want to find a job. So I've just been wondering, is a lot of parents of matriculants going through this, kids wanting to take a gap year to find a job? Is it a symptom where the kids can see the situation at home and they want to help? Therefore, putting their future on hold. I don't know. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I just don't know. What is happening with this gap year thing?
Yeah, Nora, it's a very, very good question, and one, I think gap years can be good things. If I had taken a gap year after high school before university, I would have made an entirely different set of decisions about my education and my career. They can be good things, but I think when you're forced into a gap year, rather than it be an optional thing, then the circumstances play out differently, and that can be deeply frustrating and, like you say, putting your future on hold.
Morning, Oliver. Oliver, I want to comment on the issue of Monopoly selling around the Pirates with regards to his contract, and the rumors going around that he wants out because he was denied opportunity to go overseas. I think it's about time players respect their contracts. When you sign a contract, you have to understand what does that mean. If you've got a desire to play overseas, why aren't you including a clause that will allow you to leave as and when you receive an offer from overseas? But in absence of that, I think players should respect their contracts and wait until their contracts are finished, and then they can explore the opportunity of going overseas. It's wrong for agents to whisper some wrong information into ears of players, because when you play for teams like Pirates, Chiefs and Sundowns, you have to understand that these teams are very ambitious, so they're not going to sell as and when you want. Thank you.
There's something that I really don't understand. When you say, that's like many other people will call and say, people are emphasizing the degree, as if everybody is going to the degree and to the university, as if FETs and technicals are empty, as if nobody is doing certificate. Remember, all of them are full. Universities are full, FET and technicals are full, colleges are full. There's something for everyone. You don't expect anybody who got 8 distinction to go to FET. That will be absurd and a waste of resources. Those with the best minds will go to the university and will do those challenging degrees that need abstract engineering, mathematics, law, higher degrees, accounting. But there was something for FETs, low class. They are there, God.
Do you agree with Gole? I'd like to hear from you. Give me a call, 086 000 2032. Let's go to the lines. Segofato in Klapstop. Good morning.
Good morning, Oliver, and how are you? Thanks for taking my call.
I'm fantastic. Go ahead. What's on your mind this morning? Are you taking little ones to school, or did you take little ones to school? It's a bit late now. It's 16 minutes after 8.
I so wish, Oliver. Look, the concerned part now in the Klapstop area, we're talking around the department in Alabama, at the Department of Education, where we're seeking for space. In fact, this has happened last year, somewhere around July, where application has been made to respective or different schools for grade 8. I'm sitting with a grade 8 learner that we've been told to wait for 10 days. And we are in a panicking mode to date because we don't know what's going to happen, because you go to different schools, you are told that it's full. Got a grade 8 learner that is sitting at home. I so wish that I was going to be the one parent that will be taking the learner to school, but unfortunately, it's not the case, especially with regards to my circumstances. It's very sad, I must say, Oliver, and the admission process or the system, to be honest, needs to be re-looked into or to zoom into, because it makes, a learner with an average of 66% from grade 7 and is still struggling to get a space. It is disheartening, to say the least. And that is why when I listened to the minister make it presented this morning, I then say to myself, when we start on the back foot, especially where a learner does not have a school, it's automatically daunting in terms of the psychological effect of the learner and it taking a toll on everyone, including the parent as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure in terms of I'm seeking assistance. In fact, not only me, there are a lot of people, but in particular, Klapstop need to be zoomed into, especially the school system. For admission purposes, it's a problem.
Yeah, thank you so much for your call. I do appreciate and I can completely understand your frustrations this morning, Terofato. It really isn't easy to be able to go through that. Sianda in Karicha, good morning. Oh, my apologies. Sianda in Karicha, let's try that again. My bad. Go for it.
Morning, Oliver. Compliments of the new season. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Thank you so much. Go for it.
Yes. I hope that some of the Bella Act will correct some of the things that the gentleman was talking about. My point, what I wanted to say, was the political hypocrisy. When President Ramaphosa appointed Thulasizwe Simelane as the Minister of Education, I said I'm going to watch out what is going to be the statement of the DA when the results of the matriculants come out. Lo and behold, they are singing the praises. Gwahube has not done any structural changes in terms of the policy. She has not done anything. It is still the same thing. But now the DA that has been lamenting the results, disputing the results over the years, suddenly are now welcoming the results. It shows what political parties are made of in terms of being hypocrites. And I would like to call out as well Mike from Newland, who always single out this DA as the blue political party that can do no wrong. Just to show him just this little thing, that if they can do this thing, how many other things that they are willing to do, because they are protecting their own right now.
Yeah.
Political hypocrisy.
Yeah. Every year the DA releases that statement called the real matric results, where they lambast their educational system. And Minister Simelane Gwahube seems to have sang from a different hymn sheet this time around. Silo in Stilfontein, good morning. Silo?
Oliver, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Go for it.
No, it's not Silo, Oliver. It's Candice from Stilfontein, Northwest.
Oh, my apologies. My apologies. Candice, go for it.
Yes, look, man, Oliver. You know, yesterday the Minister of Mineral and DMRE and the Minister of Police and the Premier of Northwest, Mr. Mkhosi, and the Deputy Minister of Police, they were here yesterday. And Oliver, you know, I'm leading Sanko here. I'm the chairperson of Sanko in Stilfontein and Kuma area. And yesterday, when they come here to do oversight, as resident, we requested the Minister of Police to say, please, Minister, we request you must come here in Stilfontein, the Minister of Mineral and Energy, DMRE. And they came yesterday.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Oliver, the attitude of Mr. Montage, because we expected them, when they finished to do oversight, to come and speak to the people of area of Stilfontein. And they refused to speak to the people, to listen to the people. Oliver, we have issues. We request the president to speak to Mr. Montage, to come back here in Stilfontein, because we have questions to Mr. Montage. We need answers to Mr. Montage.
Yeah. Okay. Candice.
Look, Oliver, people have died here.
Yeah.
People have died. No matter how foreigners, no matter they are human beings.
Yeah.
So that we need questions to Mr. Montage to come and give us answers.
Yeah.
It's what we want to hear.
Yeah, sorry. Kanisa, thanks a lot for that. I do think your point has been made. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. One last call. Let's speak to Paspilon out in Eldorado Park. Go for it, Paspilon.
Morning, my friend. You well?
I'm fantastic. Go ahead. What's on your mind?
Well, wonderful. You know, I saw parents at the primary and high school, how glee they were, you know, showing extreme glee for their children coming to school and so forth and whatever. And it is something that really moved me. But now, something else I noted now is, in fact, I knew this quite some time ago, there are so many parents from Soweto whom are coming to bringing their children to Eldorado Park. Nothing wrong with that, anything. Whereby I purposely brought up a topic, you know, because of the weak economy, unemployment, so forth, they paying for the taxis, and yet some of them are saying the schools in Freedom Park and Soweto, they're just a stone's throw from where they stay. Why is it, instead of day saving a day, they are
because there's no capacity.
I'm telling you, Oliver, some words which were you, and it was at different times. I was not speaking to, just like in a single talk, different parents I spoke to of, the insults they flung to Mr. Ramaphosa. If I have to say them, you will put the phone down. It was very, 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 I cannot even explain that, Oliver.
Yeah. Look, and I think you raise a real issue, and that's part of the access to education problem in highly populated places like Gauteng and the Western Cape, where you don't have enough schools in the most dense parts of the city, the province, and the greater city region. And you have situations that play out like that. Pasbilon, thanks a lot for your call. I appreciate it. I'm unfortunately very thin on time. I do have to go, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your call. Appreciate that. We're going to be speaking on the other side of this a very short sting. We're going to be speaking to Valdo Marcus, who is the director of TPN, and that is on dynamics and changes in the property sector.
This is Oliver Dixon on SAFM.
What are some of the big changes that you need to look forward to if you perhaps are planning on buying a house this year or any property of any sort? Perhaps you're even renting a property and you might be affected by some of those changes and dynamics playing out in the sector. Valdo Marcus, who's the director of TPN from MRI Software, joins us. Valdo, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. What are some of the big changes that you guys are anticipating in the property space?
Good morning, Oliver, and good morning to your listeners. So we published a trends piece once towards the end of 2024, going into 2025, and we really look at the property space from a commercial and a residential space. And as during your intro, you referred specifically to the residential space. A couple of things that we foresee happening in 2025 is that there will be an increase in the number of people that migrate from rental property into property ownership. And that's due to two main reasons. The most obvious, of course, being the lower interest rates, and we expect at least another 50 basis points cut during the course of 2025, making purchasing property a lot more affordable. We're also seeing in the second factor, improvement in consumer and business confidence. For someone to purchase a property, incurring that debt, investing in an asset that's not easily liquidated, and many factors play a role, including municipalities, location, as well as provinces. Those factors we can discuss maybe a bit later. But confidence plays a massive role. And as we see going into 2025, we still have good confidence. We expect that to continue improving. Should we see unemployment come down a little bit more and the economy grow? Now, those two combined will start seeing people that would rent because of the uncertainty, potentially moving into purchasing properties. That, of course, will increase the demand, and we will start seeing rental property inflation increase towards the middle to latter part of this year a bit more, making properties a little bit more expensive. But of course, that's counteracted with the higher interest rates. When it comes to commercial property, we've seen a very sluggish start post-pandemic. And there's a lot being written around it, but commercial property is forecast for 2025 is looking positive. There are new developments coming online. There's big refurbishments, especially in the retail space. And then, of course, the industrial, so light warehousing, distribution centers is still in strong demand. And that's giving us a good indication of where the economy is going as developers and owners are investing in these light industrial, mixed industrial, and then, of course, large distribution spaces. So overall, the property sector is looking good, and residential, of course, benefits sooner from lower interest rates compared to the commercial space.
Does the data suggest that residential property developments actually benefit from that? Because oftentimes you would have locked people into these long-term lease agreements that aren't tied to the flexibility of the rental of the interest rate. Maybe as a residential owner, you benefit from it, but certainly not as a residential tenant.
Residential tenants have actually been benefiting from lower rental escalations. Now, rental escalations were sitting around the 4 to 5%. And there's two reasons for it. The one is that property investors and owners didn't want to sit vacant. So they don't want to price their property out of the market and lose a good paying tenant. So they were very cautious when it came to applying rental escalations. During some quarters, we saw that rental escalations were below inflation. And now as interest rates come down, the obvious principle would be is that as interest rates come down, rental escalations should ease as well. However, for quite a considerable period of time, the landlords and investors have kind of been on the side of caution. So they have applied lower rental escalations, trying to keep a tenant for longer, understanding that consumers are under pressure. Where we will see the benefit actually for property investors come from with lower interest rates is the cost of debt. That also then combined with the confidence, they will start investing in more rental stock. That will push up supply, and as we see higher supply coming online with a potential of a slightly lowering demand because people are migrating into property ownership, we would still see those rental escalations remain relatively stable. We might start seeing it picking up in quarter 2, quarter 3 of this year, as investors are trying to recoup some of those suppressed rental returns that they've seen the past 3 years.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it, Marcus Waldo. Thank you so much for your time this morning and your insights. What are your reactions to that? Give me a call, 086 000 2032. It is 8:30. Let's take your latest headlines.
Good morning. Thanks, Oliver. In the headlines, Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis has wished learners and parents well for the new academic year. Western Cape Education Authority say more than 1.1 million learners in the province will return to school today. The Border Management Authority is calling on travellers and cargo operators to use alternative ports of entry following the temporary closure of Groblersbrug border post outside Lipalale in Limpopo yesterday. And the inauguration of the new president of Mozambique will take place in Maputo today. Daniel Chapo's swearing in comes as some opposition have rejected the election results. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
The good news first, if you're leaving Pretoria on your way to Joburg, it's a remarkably clear N1 Pretoria Centurion Midrand section. I don't know where the traffic is. It's a back-to-school Wednesday. You would think intuitively there should be a lot of traffic around, but there just isn't. The N1 looks remarkably clear for this time of morning. Still some heavy pressure on Germiston's N3 North up to a crash at Heldenace, and the M1 South. The William Mandela off-ramp is quite heavily backed from the Rivonia Road side. Durban N2 going south, a breakdown the usual spot in the roadworks before Spaghetti Junction. That's pushed the queue back towards Umgene Road. And Cape Town, two major problems on the N2 route. One is the closure between Baden-Powell and Macassar on your way out of Cape Town. It's a big truck crash at the Kramat Bridge. That's between Baden-Powell and Macassar. So the N2 closed going outbound at Baden-Powell. All the traffic going up and sort of into East Rafia. So it's quite a backlog on the highway and on that alternative route as you aim to get up to the R102, I guess. The other big problem that we've had around the Western Cape is the N2 closure between Krabo and Bot Rafia due to protesting. The road remains closed. There's no straight way through between Bot Rafia and Krabo via Hohook. So motorists have got the option either to divert up through Villiers-Dorp or down the R44 via Kleinmond, Betty's Bay, Royals and Gordons Bay. Either way, it is going to significantly extend your travel times. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
A very good morning. Let's kick things off with former Bafana Bafana and Mamelodi Sundowns star Percy Tau, who has officially joined Qatari SC after leaving Egyptian giants Al Ahly in a lucrative deal, and he's spoken about his move. Tau, who reportedly earned 2 million rand a month in Egypt, will now pocket a staggering 15 million rand monthly in Qatar. The 30-year-old took to social media, sharing an emotional farewell to Al Ahly, where he won 12 championships since joining in 2021 under coach Pitso Mosimane. Tau acknowledged the club's unwavering support, saying, "From day one, I was here to make history, and together we made it." Now, closer to home, AmaZulu and Zambian international striker Augustine Mulenga remains hopeful that he can get game time at his club and impress the Chipolopolo technical team so that he can be considered for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations squad later this year. Mulenga, who's only played one game for Usutu this season, has not featured on the Zambian national team in 3 years, and with coach Avram Grant having gone for a youthful talent, his chances of making Chipolopolo are slim.
Yes, I'm been a soccer player, and it's every soccer player's dream to play for the national team. And like when the nation qualify for the AFCON, I'm sure each and everyone always try to work extra hard so that he can have that opportunity to represent the country on the higher level. And I'm sure even to me, I'm going to work so hard and see when the time comes if I'm going to be selected or what. But I have confidence in myself that I'll be there.
That's the AmaZulu and Zambian international striker Augustine Mulenga. Now let's go elsewhere. Nuno Espirito Santo says it's all about heart and desire after his Nottingham Forest side held on for a 1-1 home draw, and that was with Premier League leaders Liverpool.
We are competing very well. I keep insisting, and this is the approach and the mentality of the squad. It's about playing, competing, improving, realizing which are our strengths and which are our weaknesses, and getting to know ourselves better can only make us compete in the future in a better way. You know what I think about the table. For now, it's not important. It's what we and how we're going to prepare against Southampton.
Let's go to rugby news. Nizam Kar saying the Bulls have a lot to play for in their last Champions Cup pool match against Stade Francais at Loftus. The number 8 captained a second-string team in their 49-10 defeat at Casters last weekend, which ended the Bulls' playoff hopes and extended their losing streak to 4 matches across all competitions. The Bulls are bottom of Pool 3 with 3 defeats, but will finish 5th if they win by 22 points on Saturday and don't concede a bonus point. That will see them qualify for the second-tier Challenge Cup round of 16. Cricket action, Joburg Super Kings and Pretoria Capitals, they claimed crucial victories over Durban's Super Giants and the Sunrisers Eastern Cape respectively in the Betway SA20. The Joburg Super Kings spin trio of Tabre Shamsi, Donovan Ferreira and Imran Tahir combined in perfect tandem to propel the visitors to a 28-run victory at Kingsmead, while the Capital, the Seamers, were influential in their 6-wicket bonus point win over the defending champions, the Sunrisers Eastern Cape. Let's hear now from the Joburg Super Kings, Imran Tahir.
The first 2 games as a team, if you win, give you a lot of confidence about every player and obviously whoever got the opportunity. And I feel like that everyone's very confident. We had a great 7-8 days camp in Johannesburg. Even though it's been raining every single day, we put a lot of efforts as a team. We went indoors, we did our training sessions, outdoor, wherever we got the opportunity. And it's nice to see the reward coming. And
on to tennis, and Carlos Alcaraz cruised into the 3rd round of the Australian Open, blasting past Yoshihito Nishioka of Japan 6-love, 6-1, 6-4 in just 1 hour and 21 minutes in Melbourne. The Spaniard Alcaraz, who has never won the title in Melbourne, will play Nuno Borges of Portugal in the 3rd round. That's a wrap of your sport on the morning brief. Well, there'll be more around 12:30 with John Herika. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
And it is time for the final business update of the morning. And Ndauleng is back with us this morning. And Ndauleng, we start out with local investment company Renate dumping its entire stake in British American Tobacco.
That's right, Oliver. So Johan Rupert's investment firm Reinet announcing its exit from British American Tobacco, marking the end of a nearly 80-year relationship with the tobacco industry. The company sold 43.3 million shares, about 2% of BAT, for £1.2 billion. Now, the group's investment in BAT accounted for about 80% of its net asset value in 2009, but has since decreased to around 24% by September 2024. The company has already sold an additional 5 million BAT shares through a dribble out process, cashing in on about £148.5 million. Reinet's remaining BAT shares were used as collateral for loans, which have since been repaid. The sale is part of Reinet's efforts to rebalance its portfolio and explore new investment opportunities. Once the sale goes through, it'll leave Reinet with investments including a stake in one of the largest players in the UK pension insurance market, Pension Insurance Corporation, Trilactic Capital Partners, a private equity outfit, and Grab Holdings, a $20 billion super app platform operating in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, and Murray and Roberts being, of course, the big construction company, was dealing with a leadership exodus. What's happening?
So governance issues really taking priority there at Murray and Roberts, and this comes at a time where its unit, Murray and Roberts Limited, that houses OptiPower, remains under business rescue. Clifford Rapiri, who was appointed interim chair at Murray and Roberts last month, has stepped down, becoming the fourth member to leave the troubled company in just over a month. Business Day notes that Rapiri's sudden departure follows those of non-executive directors Yasmin Bogenpoel, Alexandra Miller, and Suresh Khanna, who resigned as group chair on the 30th of November last year. The company has not disclosed reasons for Rapiri's resignation. Alex Maditsi, the board's only remaining independent non-executive director, has taken over as acting chair with immediate effect. Now, the exodus of board members comes at a critical time for MNR, which has asked the JSE to suspend trading of its shares amid a cash crunch. MNR shares were trading at R1.10 when the suspension came into effect on the 22nd of November, a drop from its 3-year high of R14.35.
My goodness, what? Imagine having held Murray and Roberts stocks. Yo, my goodness. If you had R1 million worth of MNR stocks before the plunge, and it would have been, and it dropped from 14 Rand to just over 1 Rand, you would be left now with 60,000 Rand. If you had R1 million worth of stocks, you would be left now with 60,000 Rand.
And that's why they suspended trading, because people were starting to sell.
Yo! Imagine eroding R1 million to 60,000 Rand. I mean, it's a hypothetical figure, but wow! My goodness. It's 20 minutes to the top of the markets opening at 9 o'clock. What are we looking at?
So the JSE likely to have a mixed start to the day following its global peers. In terms of company news, Cartrack owner Karoo out with quarterly earnings. And then on the economics front, local inflation numbers will be topping most headlines today that print out around 10 a.m. Ahead of the data, the Rand has been trading stronger as the dollar steadies. It's sitting at 18.93 against the greenback. Traders in the US also eyeing inflation data that print out this afternoon. And ahead of that, futures are muted. And then over in Asia, stocks on track for another day of choppy trade as investors hold off from making any big bets ahead of course, that US inflation print, as well as looking up ahead of the China GDP coming out later this week.
Darling, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. Darling, we'll be back with you tomorrow. It's 18 minutes to the top of the hour.
Insurance are experts in what they do.
They get to understand what type of business are you doing so that they can insure you properly.
It actually validates why we're with them. If you haven't called Outsurance yet, what are you waiting for?
Switch to Business Outsurance today and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Let's have a listen at some of your WhatsApp voice notes and give us a call 086 000 2032.
Good morning, Oliver and your team and the listeners. The question I've got for South African this morning is that, is the education the key to success? Is it really a key to success from the South African perspective? Thank you.
Let me give you this number. Graduate unemployment in South Africa is hovering around 10%. That means if you have a degree in South Africa, you are 90% likely to get a job. Or differently put, only 1 in 10 people in South Africa that have a degree are unemployed. Non-graduate unemployment, that's to say people who only have a matric certificate, is insanely high, in excess of 70%. Your chances of getting a job if you only have a matric certificate of any meaningful employment is significantly low. So, again, to ask the question, is education the key to success? Well, consider that number.
Oliver, I agree with Gola, and I'm glad you raised this point. FETs are full. Children are sleeping at Citibank College, waiting for the colleges to open for the walk-ins. They choose, they go for kilometers and kilometers, and that is an FET college. And I would like to assume that it's the same to other colleges as well. So those that want to do vocational training, they go and do it. And those that qualify to do degrees, they do it. Like Gola said, I agree with him fully. Thanks, Oliver.
Good morning, Oliver. Hi, I'm enjoying your show. Oliver, the death penalty doesn't exist in South Africa, and condemning the miners to death underground without a trial or anything else to me would seem very lacking in humanity. I think this is another disaster that's going to haunt the government, the same as Marikana. These are still human beings, and out of desperation, they're looking to scrape a few pennies from what's left in the mine. Can't that rather be made official, and can't they rather be helped to mine what's left in there? I don't know who still owns it, but couldn't the government take charge, or some organisation take charge of that? This might be completely irrational, but it seems to me very cruel what has been done.
Thank you very much for that. Tsukulu out in Harrismith, do you agree with that voice note?
Hey, Oliver, I'm on the phone now. I didn't hear really.
No, my apologies. Then no, it's fine. But you want to comment on Stilfontein? Go for it.
Yeah, no, man. I just want to comment about Oliver. I'm worried. I'm worried. I'm big worried because of these things of Stilfontein. I don't know, but I don't think I can do that. You see, these people, they are doing that purposely. They know what they want. Some of those people, they are coming from Lesotho. You understand? They are coming from Lesotho. They come here and do that, and they know exactly that thing thing they're doing there is not right. But now, look what happened now in Stilfontein. Some of them are dead. It's a government responsibility again. You see, we are complaining about the government is doing nothing for us here in South Africa. But now a government must focus again to the people who are doing, who don't know who sent them there. No one said these people they must go and do that. So now it's a problem. The government again. No, that's not right. People, we must think. I can't. Oliver, as I'm speaking to you now, I'm hungry. You understand?
Yeah.
I'm hungry. But I can't listen to someone who said, just go there by the railway and wait for the train to come and hit you. Then it won't kill you. He's gonna just do like a little bit, then you will survive. I can't do that because I'm hungry. I rather stay hungry than going there. So how can you go underground expecting that you're gonna come out alive? No, that's nonsense, Oliver. I was listening to someone there on Steel Fontaine yesterday. No, and I was watching that 405. That guy is complaining about government is doing nothing for the people who dead now in Steel Fontaine. Who sent those people there? Why can't they confess if somebody say they must go and dig that gold there?
Yeah.
Why can't they confess? Yeah. Now the government must take the responsibility about the people who are dead. No, come on, people.
So go look,
government is doing a lot.
Yeah, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks a lot for your call. I appreciate it, sir. Thanks a lot. Magdalene out in Bloemfontein. Good evening. Good morning, Mama. Go for it.
Okay, yeah, you always talk to me in the evening. Morning. Oliver, when did Stephen left? Is it last year or year before last year? Somewhere there.
Last year.
My point is, I'm going to repeat what I said to Stephen. Post-matric preparation is not when the child is at school, maybe grade 10, grade 11. No, it's from preschool. Identifying the talent and the gift of the child. And that must be done by the psychologist. And the child will be placed accordingly. In order for a child, at the end of the day, the child must be in an economic activeness in South Africa. Right now, we don't know. We are celebrating, yes, they did well, whatever. But at the end of the day, are they economically viable or economically ready to can actively participate in the South African economy? Point is, South Africa doesn't care for its citizens. It cares to explore the citizens of other countries. So it is better that we parents, whatever that business that we have, we should try to identify from our kids that is this child eligible to can be part of this business, or should I prepare my child for another business and take my child to such skill development? Why do I say that? Are we now celebrating for more criminal statistic to come over, or those who are going to I don't know, anything which doesn't give an economical viability? That is bad. That is bad.
Yeah.
This is not right what you are doing to
Absolutely.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Really.
Magdalene, thank you so much for your call, Mama. Really do appreciate it. We'll continue with your engagements on the other side of this. We're going to be talking to Dr. Krista Kok, who's a crime analyst. Does South Africa have a mass shooting problem? That conversation coming up. Rob Byrne has your latest in traffic.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still very heavy on Joburg's N3 North, going up into the Heldnace. That's a crash. So between Elan's interchange, past the cement factory and into the M2 exit, very heavy. Further up, another crash on the N3 between Linksfield and Modderfontein Road, causing delays. N1 south down to William Mandela off-ramp to get into four ways. That's a heavy queue. You'll pick that up just after the Rivonia off-ramp. And there's been a crash in Pretoria. It's on the M1 North near Atterbury. That's reasonably heavily backed up from Rigel Avenue all the way up through Garsfontein and up towards Atterbury. You might want to travel later or get some alternative route action underway to avoid that. Durban, a breakdown on the N2 North now by Westwood Mall, so keeping traffic coming up from Spaghetti Junction side. Cape Town, two major closures of the N2 this morning. The big one, the protesting between Botterfia and Grabo. That N2 fully closed both ways until further notice. Diversions via Villiers-Dorp or along the coastal route via Kleinbond and Royals out to Gordons Bay. Either way, it'll be a significant extension of your planned travel times through there. And the N2 out of Cape Town remains closed at Baden-Powell Drive. That's due to a truck crash. I believe that may be a fatal crash scene between Baden-Powell and Macassar. So some real pressure on the highway and then on some of the alternative routes through Macassar or through Easter-Rafia. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
I feel great, I feel nice. Kashem, what's the core? We're quelling on the highest, the summer level. What are we? Uzalo, what's the core? No Maswazi cause being a mama. Pefeni wants to kreta and get a kaya. It's the core on SABC Plus. Don't miss Uzalo at 8:30 weekdays only on SABC 1. Zanzi for sure.
The Bees want to be all over the pitch and keep the 3 points on home ground.
It could be 5 to Brentford. There's wishes in here. Brentford have got 5 goals at St Mary's.
Meanwhile, the Reds want to emphasize that they will never walk alone, but with victory.
Lovely ball. Gakpo. Goal! Brilliant as well, as ever, from Cody Gakpo.
This is the Premier League, striving for excellence. Experience the glittering encounter between Brentford FC and Liverpool FC on Saturday, 18 January at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC 3. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
If it's your resolution to make better financial decisions, get Outsurance Essential, low-cost insurance for your older car. With Outsurance Essential, your accident claims are paid in cash, so you can choose the panel beater you want to use. Top it up with motor warranty, which covers you for mechanical and electrical breakdowns. Get saving with Outsurance Essential for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 Rand. SMS car to 43187. That's car to 43187. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
The Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Dr. Krista Koch, crime analyst, joins us for this conversation. Over 9,000 lives have been lost in South Africa to mass shootings, with the year 2023 to 2024 witnessing the highest fatalities to date. That is to say, mass shootings are becoming more and more prevalent, frequent, and commonplace in South Africa. Chris, does South Africa have a mass shooting problem?
It clearly, based on the figures that the minister have released, Minister of Police, clearly there is an increase in mass shootings, and these figures are quite high. It is really a bit shocking.
Yeah. Let's maybe start with the definition of a mass shooting. How many people in a shooting incident must be killed for it to be called a mass shooting? Is it more than 3, more than 4? What's the threshold?
I don't know what the police is using, but I would say more than 3.
Right. And firearms, access to firearms in South Africa has seemingly become easier, less regulated, and left unabated a problem. How big is our firearms problem in South Africa, especially unlicensed and illegal firearms?
Well, if we look at these mass shootings, and if we look at other crimes like CIT robberies, other kinds of robberies, all kinds of violent crime, it seems that there is a lot of firearms in the wrong hands, unlicensed firearms, firearms which were taken during robberies, which were taken during housebreakings, and even firearms from the police and the defense force and security companies. This is clearly a problem, and this is one of the main reasons why we get these mass shootings. I mean, you will never find, or the chances that you will find a mass killing where a person is using a sword or a knife or any other sharp instrument. I mean, that is very low. While if you have a assault rifle, especially if you have a firearm, assault firearm, then these mass shootings become possible.
Yeah. Are mass shootings primarily and by and large gang related?
No, there are many reasons. It can be gang related, like the one over the weekend in Mpumalanga. It can be related to family feuds. It can be related to feuds in other areas, in rural areas, about cattle, about things of the past. and this family is then working here in Gauteng, and then the other family will, when these guys meet in a shebeen or a tavern, then the other guys can take them out.
Yeah, and if it's not gang related all the time, let's then talk about the role that syndicated crime plays in it, because oftentimes that seems to be a part of it. If we look at a cash in transit heist, for instance, that's often operated by organized crime syndicates, and oftentimes in a cash in transit heist, when there is a shootout, multiple people end up dying.
Well, I think organized crime, of syndicated crime, is playing a very big role even in these mass shootings, because it's not always the person who want to take revenge or want to punish this guy sitting together in a shebeen or tavern or wherever. They may hire people, hitmen, to take these people out, to kill them. So we see an increasing role of organized hitmen, hit squads, hit groups that play a role in many things. Even in the assassination of whistleblowers.
Yeah. Chris, we're going to have to leave it there. I really do appreciate it. Chris de Kock is a crime analyst. Let's have a listen at this WhatsApp voice note in reaction to this conversation on mass shootings.
Good morning, Oliver, and your team and your guest there. Oliver, you see this thing of mass shooting is happening everywhere. Now it is in Mpumalanga. Last time it was here in Kanana. But there is nothing come out from our law enforcement. Even our government, they don't care. It's not them. They are safe because of this year. They are going to receive. They have an increase for more VIP protection, so they don't care about the rest. Now I'm asking myself, the leadership of President Ramaphosa, where are we going? Because of everyone is quiet about this. It means everyone is happy about the way President Ramaphosa ran this country. We have a crisis. We have a serious crisis. I think now enough is enough. It's Percy in Matosana.
Come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for all your calls, your engagements. I really, really do appreciate it. And that's the news for this hour. Theft, accident, and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by Outsurance Essential. Get a quote today. SMS card to 43187 now.
In our top stories, Education Minister on a visit to Eastern Cape schools and the inauguration of Mozambique's new president. Good morning. The Basic Education Minister, Siviwe Hwahube, will visit the Eastern Cape as schools reopen for the new academic year. Hwahube will begin her visit at the Thulasizwe Primary School at Fort Beaufort, where she will welcome Grade R and Grade 1 learners. She will conclude her visit by inspecting a 100 million rand school upgrade at the historic Hilltown Secondary School, also at Fort Beaufort. Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis has wished learners and parents well for the new academic year. Hill-Lewis shared this message.
And I want to wish all our children starting school again today so well for their first day back. And especially all of those starting in new schools in grade 1 or in grade 8. I hope you all have so much fun and enjoy it. And to all of Cape Town's parents, I hope that you're not too emotional watching your little ones go off back to school today. But actually it's okay if you are. Have fun, everyone.
The Northern Cape Premier Dr. Zamani Saw will be at the Kiba Secondary School in Kuruman. This is one of the two most improved districts in the province with the 2024 matric results. Saul and his executive will be at various schools across the province to ensure the smooth start of the academic year. Some schools are still awaiting the delivery of stationery and other material due to late payment to suppliers by the Department of Education. There's excitement and emotions as grade 1 learners are ushered into their classes to begin their 12-year school career. School started at 7:30 this morning, but some parents are still lurking outside the classroom, peeping through windows to catch the last glimpse of their bundles of joy. Paul Magubane reports from Pinnacle College Founders Hill, east of Johannesburg.
Hugs and kisses while cameras clicked away as grade 1 parents tried to capture the special moment, despite the little ones settling in without the drama anticipated. It's the mothers and fathers that can't seem to let go.